All right, board members, you all signed in. Good to go. All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It's great to see a full house. Could I please ask you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance at this time? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, attendance. We have all board members in attendance this evening, correct? Mike, you have Ms. Cruz on your phone? Oh, all right. Well, this is the technical aspect that we sometimes have to pause for. Sure thing. So we have.
Hi, Candy. We're just getting started.
Can you hold your button there?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine.
Can you hold the?
Okay, try it again. One more.
Can you hear me okay?
Can you? Okay. Yes, Candy, we can. The audience can. You're good. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. So we have 8 members attending in person, 1 board member attending remotely. And I have visitor. Sorry. I have a brand new computer. Bear with me 1 minute. All right.
Roll call.
What? Yes, that was the attendance that we just went through with the board members. That brings us to the visitor comment portion of our agenda. We have quite a few people here wanting to sign in to speak. I'm just going to call them in order of signatures. And the first is Wendy Jans. The mic will be turned on. We're going to make sure, the mic works for you and you have your 3 minutes up there to help you out. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Wendy Jans. I'm here to talk about the Sligo Pool, which will be presented to you this evening. For the past 14 years, I have had the privilege of managing Sligo Pool, a place that means more to me and this community than words can fully express. Sligo is not just a pool. It is a home away from home, a hub for connection, a cornerstone for our community's identity. I've come to know almost every member who walks through those doors, and those relationships are built on trust and respect, not just for me, but for the incredible staff who have tirelessly worked to make the pool what it is. That trust creates a sense of belonging, which is why many staff members return year after year. Sligo Pool is more than a job. It is a family. Having the Y take over or manage Sligo Pool jeopardizes everything that makes this place special. I've seen what happens when the Y tries to take over local community pools. They don't open, or when they do, they are understaffed and forced to close. That's not the future we want for Sligo Pool. Our community has shown time and time again its willingness to support and sustain this pool. Many people have already expressed interest in joining the board or volunteering to help in many ways, yet they have been turned away. The passion and commitment is here, and we should be tapping into that strength, not handing over our pool to an outside organization. And I need to ask, how is this decision even being made? With so few people currently on the board, it is unfair, or how is it right for them to decide the future of something that belongs to all of us? Why haven't the members, our community, been notified or given a voice in this process? Why aren't the bylaws being followed? Sligo Pool is more than water and facilities. It is a place where friendships are formed. Kids learn to swim, and neighbors become extended family. It's vital that we protect this treasure for our future. Let's come together and ensure Sligo Pool stays in the hands of the community it serves. Thank you.
Next, I have Tom Durilla. And if I'm mispronouncing your name, please get up to the mic and correct me, by all means.
Hi, I'm Tom Durilla. I've been a resident of the Southern Lehigh School District since 1972. My father-in-law was the first founding father of the pool, and he was the first president of the pool. There's a special spot in our hearts for that pool. I find it difficult and sad that the three people on the board of directors of the pool, like Wendy said, didn't come forward and let the rest of the pool community have any say in bringing the YMCA into it. They violated the bylaws of the community pool because they make decisions and there's only 3 of them. And the bylaws say they have to have between 5 and 10. And they also might violate the bylaws again in 4 days or less when their term expires. We would like to see the pool stay. And last year, for 10 days, the pool shut down because the board said they had no money to pay the guards. For over 50 years, the pool ran great. In the 6 years that they've been in office, they ran out of money. Hello? Before my time's up, if the school board has any money for the pool, it would certainly be appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Next, I have Priya Serene.
Okay. Can you all hear me okay? So back again, I am. When it comes to the Silico item itself that's on the agenda, I think it's a complex issue and I don't know all the information. So from my perspective, and I think a lot in the community, our primary objective is that you make a decision that would maintain the pool in its open state, because we know, and given the past season, there have been financial issues. So I was really hoping to speak more to the team itself, our high school team. As many of you know, the YMCA is a bigger issue than just taking management of Silico itself. There's been plans in the works for years with respect to an actual site of the Saucon Creek YMCA, which is in close proximity to our high school. I urge you to move forward quickly with your part in the Saucon YMCA, which has been in the works for a long time. In addition to providing services for our entire community, it would be significantly impactful for the Southern Lehigh High School swim and dive team. In contrast to other sports and activities at the high school, the swimmers must be transported to a facility off-site because we don't have a pool. There is, of course, a significant cost associated with transporting our kids, which you should know, as busing, it must occur 6 days of the week, as well as on holidays. While the team parents are grateful that there have been recent changes with respect to providing transportation for our kids, there are significant downsides to not having an on-site or close-by facility within walking distance for our kids. Most sports run straight after school and usually conclude around 4 or 4:30, including lifting and strengthening, which is key to most sports done at the high school. Our students are away from campus and home from at least 3 p.m., meaning they change right after school at about 2:30. They leave the school a little bit after 3, and then they don't get home until closer to 6:30. That's a significant difference, a big chunk of time, and you're talking about students who, of course, are also in rigorous classes. In addition to have effective lifting and strengthening, they must do it before school, starting at 6:15 in the morning. Teenagers, circadian rhythms, we all know that they don't do great in the morning. They're up late because they got home too late from practice to get all their work done, and they're studying, and then they're waking up at 5:40 to get to the school for lifting. So I would urge you to do your part. The school board does have a part within that greater structure. I know that there's been a lot of bureaucratic red tape. I've been informed of that, and I appreciate that. But whatever you can do to move it forward, that would be great. A local YMCA would provide a close-by alternative for our students, and I urge you to please help the community as a whole. Thank you.
Next, I have Amy Villani.
Hi, my name is Amy Villani. I'm a parent. My daughter is the captain of the Southern Lehigh High School swim team. I don't speak for her because she's a teenager, and so she speaks for herself. But that being said, I have a vested interest in this pool being open. My daughter has been a swimmer there under Coach Wendy and Coach Katie on and off since she was in 4th grade. It's been a wonderful experience, and I really do love the Slico pool. That being said, I'm a businesswoman, and I have a lot of experience with trying to help Slico Pool raise money. And I'm very sad to tell you that I don't think that it is very viable to keep the pool going the way that it's currently going. I've gotten up at 6:30 in the morning. I've attended meetings. I've begged local business owners for money. I have emailed, I think you guys a couple years ago asking for money. I've emailed the township. For some reason, unlike in other areas, this pool does not receive the funding that it deserves. There is a whole list of people who have stopped providing support. And so to stand up here and say what happened or who gave money before, I can tell you those businesses we tried, they're just not giving money. And so I don't want Slico to close. I certainly have nothing against anybody running it or anybody who's on the board. It's really, really hard to try to keep that pool open. There are so many things that the pool needs. It needs new lane lines. It needs new blocks. I don't see how without a capital infusion that's not coming, that it's really an option to keep it going the way it is. And so I think that you have to try something new, and I really appreciate, because it's kind of odd to have a school district in the position that you guys are in, and I know that. So I really appreciate anything you can do. I will tell you, a lot of the kids that swim there also belong to Saucon and also belong to Steel Club, and there's a lot of money in that pool. But the part that you don't see are the kids that are riding their bikes there because both parents are at work, and the importance of having a pool in your community and who it serves. And so I think that everyone in this room has to come together and become extremely realistic. The most important thing is the kids and keeping the pool open for the kids. It doesn't matter if it's ABC company or XYZ company, but whatever choice you make, just to keep that pool open for your community is great. So thank you.
Next, I have Katie Steele.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Steele. I am the head coach of the high school swim team. I am also the head coach of the Slico pool swim team. I am a graduate of Southern Lehigh, so I am a product of our community, and I'm here because I love our community. Growing up where we are with the pool, we really brought things back after COVID. COVID hurt our team. So to say that we are now an undefeated team up here in the Lehigh Valley going against Whitehall and Nazareth and all these schools, it's neat to see that passion and the love these kids have. They're waking up early in the morning, committing themselves to our community and growing. From there, I'm able to hire these kids to be the role models for the younger kids. And it's just an ongoing cycle of keeping our community together, teaching kids responsibility, how to be the youth that we want our society to turn into. So I'm here just to speak on behalf of the pool. To be honest, I don't care who's funding it or how we keep it alive, but I want to do this for our kids. I'm not here for the money. I'm here to help grow our community and to keep that pool alive. It not only gives kids a chance to be involved in something healthy and grow them, but it also is the feeder pool to our high school. And I don't know if any of you know much about our high school. We are the smallest AAA girls school. In the past few years, we've been coming into third to Parkland and Emmaus. We're beating those big schools like Nazareth and Northampton. And our boys are AA this year, and hopefully for a successful district win. but that all comes from Salico for just trying something new that they've never done, and they fall in love with that sport. So whatever you can do to help our community, to help the kids of our community, because they have come up to me. I work at Hopewell. Coach, are we going to have a pool this summer? It's all they want. So any way you can help our community is very greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Next, I have Grace Hoyer.
Thank you. I may not be as prepared as everyone else here. My name is Grace Hoyer, and my daughter Alexis is also a senior on the Southern Lehigh High School swim team. She swims in the summers. And my other daughter is a junior at Penn State and a former swimmer from the high school. I think, well, I know I was a swimmer in high school. During my college and high school summers, I managed the largest city pool in Bethlehem, Memorial Pool. For those of you that don't know where that is, it's off Illicks Mill Road. I was also a former swim coach at Saucon Valley High School. And one of the things that has disappointed me here at this high school is not having a pool. I don't know if I would have moved into this community if I knew that my kids were going to swim. I don't think I would have chosen. I love the district, don't get me wrong. But growing up, I was a graduate of Saucon Valley High School. We have a pool there. One of the things that we do over there during gym class is we learn how to swim. So I think not having a pool has been a hindrance for us here. I think I agree with Amy Villani that no matter who manages the Salico pool, we need to have a pool in our community. Some of the reasons why: it keeps the kids off the street. The kids bike there. The kids have camaraderie there. They have a swim team there. I'm just reviewing my notes here. And I should have had my cheaters. It's important for the children to learn how to swim, to have swim class in high school. Again, I don't have a yay or nay as to who manages the pool, but the Salico pool serves as a feeder program to the high school, and that's where kids take their swimming lessons because they don't have an opportunity to have a pool in the high school to learn how to swim. They may not be able to afford to belong to, let's say, a swimming zone or go to some of these other organizations, swim organizations, to pay for lessons. So again, irregardless of who manages the pool, it's very important for us to have a community pool. Thank you.
Now, next, the individual who signed in made a note. Are you signing in to speak? I have Michelle. Are you signing in to speak at the end of the meeting, or do you wish to speak at the end of the meeting? So I'm going to skip you, and we'll call you at the end of the meeting. So next, I have Orrin Bossert. Yeah, fortunately, the time it takes you to walk to the mic is not included in your speech time. So,
hello, my name is Orrin Bossert. I'm a senior here at Southern Lehigh. I have lived in the district my entire life. I grew up going to Hopewell Elementary, and now I'm at the high school. And I would like to talk about a slightly different topic, or actually a very different topic than some of the other public comments that have been made today. And this is my concerns with our library project. As we're looking ahead, I've heard plans and hopes that a new and improved library would be ready for student use as of next school year. And thinking about that timeline makes me a bit worried, particularly with the fact of scheduling. Currently in the high school schedule, we have one 30-minute free Spartan period where we are assigned specific classroom that of our choosing, and we go there on a 6-day cycle. But currently, students don't spend time in the library, even with that free period. And as we have seen some difficulties with our change to Infinite Campus, my personal worry is with the fact of scheduling and the time at the high school and how students spend their time. We throughout the past year, as we kind of integrate into Infinite Campus, we've had some concerns with this free period. For example, most recently, students since I've been attending the high school, have been able to switch their Spartan periods where they are during that free period at the end of the first semester. But this is no longer an option as of this year because of some miscommunication and challenges with Infinite Campus. So essentially, how this connects to the library is I'm concerned that if we do not plan these actions and new scheduling now, we won't have an efficient way students won't have a good outlet and quality time spent on a project that we are, frankly, planning on spending quite a lot of money on. We want to make great use out of this new space and have students use it to the best ability. But in order to do that, we need to change the way that the high school is currently structured and how our day, is seen through, specifically with our schedule. And I think these issues needs to be addressed, as soon as we have definite plans for the library, so that we can smoothly integrate them into next year's schedule. Thank you.
All right, it looks like that concludes our visitor comment for the beginning of the meeting. And we already have folks who are signed up to speak at the end. There'll be another opportunity to comment at the end. And the computer will remain up if you want to sign in for that purpose. Moving on in our agenda. Could I ask the board solicitor to please announce our executive session since the last meeting?
Thank you, Ms. Gaiman. The Facilities Committee met for an executive session regarding litigation on January 7th, 2025. The full board met for an executive session pertaining to personnel, real estate, and litigation on 1/13/2025. And tonight, prior to the meeting, the full board held an executive session concerning school security and personnel.
Thank you. Next, could I have a motion to approve the board minutes of November 25th, December 4th, and January 13th?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Mr. Boyer. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, comment.
Yes, Mr. Mond.
I'm listed as absent on the one of the three. I'd just like to make a notation in there that I was at the LCTI board meeting in lieu of this one, please.
Yeah, actually,
you.
we did make a note. You weren't here to hear it, but we did explain that we were thanking you for your service in attending that meeting. And yes, if that's not reflected in the minutes.
It's not in the minutes. So
That's
thanks.
a non-substantive change. We can add that and still approve the minutes this evening. Anybody object to that? We did note it in the meeting, and thank you for you had double duty that night. Thanks for representing us at LCTI. We'll make that change in the minutes. Any other comments? Thank you. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Mahan, this moves to the portion of the agenda, which is the superintendent's report. We have district and student updates.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Gaiman. I will be brief tonight. First, I'm looking forward to Mr. Pepe's presentation. Later, he's going to talk about, in kind of a typical fashion, our budget, but his presentation is calibrated to talk about some of the very exciting conversations we've been having and actually had earlier tonight in the technology committee about planning budgets and staffing and programs as we go forward. So Mr. Pepe is up. I also want to just highlight two items on the agenda with respect to dual enrollment. The first, we've had a chance to send out information to the board on Kutztown. Kutztown University has a dual enrollment program that I think will be exceptionally good for any of our students who are aspiring teachers. They will spend time at Kutztown University. They will take classes at Southern Lehigh, and we already have an excellent program where our high school seniors our students will go down and support our elementary students. So that will be, again, part and parcel of the program. So we're looking forward to that. And then we are also asking the board to consider approving a new dual enrollment agreement with Western Pennsylvania University. Western Pennsylvania University is our newest state university that is a result of the consolidation of Edinburgh, Clarion, and California University of Pennsylvania. Penn West offers 50 online courses, and students who sign up for those courses, they're asynchronous, but they will have access to office hours, virtual office hours to their professors. They will have access to the library just as if they were a student there. And we're going to look very carefully at how best to incorporate that opportunity. We suspect in the first year or two, they'll only have a course or two that our students will be allowed to take as this program grows. And our thought is how nice it would be to have our students together working as a group, having taken the same course in a study group, perhaps in our new library or media center. So we're very excited about that. Our dual enrollment program has been growing. It does have kind of a hole in it, lacking virtual opportunities, and we believe this will fill that gap. So with that said, that concludes my report. But we have some guests here tonight. Yes, so we have representatives from the Y who are prepared to present to talk about some of the challenges that are faced in the pool and some of their aspirations for that. So, yes. Is the library next? I'm sorry. Well, how about this? Let's go with the library then. Mrs. Parsons, are you here?
I see
or-
Ms. Parsons and Mrs. Arnold
Yes.
From the library. I
There
see
we
a
are.
number of library board members in our audience, actually. So
Okay.
whomever would like to step up to speak on behalf of this presentation.
Okay.
And I know I just wanted to make a note. We had students updates. Those were incorporated. We aren't missing students in the audience that are
No,
prepared
no,
to
we
report out.
are not.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, there was so that the Y was a teaser, a preview of coming attractions, and now a main event is we have our library from Southern Lehigh Public Library. So, Mrs. Parsons, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I saw that we were on right before the why, so I know you want to hear about the why, so we're going to be kind of quick. But thank you for having us here tonight. I am one of your two representatives on the library board representing the school board. And the other one is Susan Arnold, who's joining me here tonight. She was just voted in as our vice president of our library board. And we also have Mark Sullivan. I forgot your name for a second there. He's the library director. So we're just going to each talk a little bit. I know that you have a packed schedule here. And I talked about this. Okay. I want to talk about some things going on at the library and communication. Susan's going to talk about the benefits you may not be aware of from our library, and Mark's going to talk about ways that we partner already with the school district. Southern Lehigh has 3,101 students, while 7,639 residents have library cards, and all residents are eligible to get one. All you need is proof of identity and residency. Any day that you go to the library, you have to see people using the public computers or Wi-Fi, students being tutored, people using the public copier or a Cricket. In the park, if the parking lot is full, it is probably because there's a kids program going on inside. Last year, an average of 669 kids per month attended our children's programs. The majority of them are under the age of 5. February and March brings out a different daytime audience, and that's because seniors use our library through the AARP, and there's volunteers there to help seniors with their tax returns. We know our kids programs and the senior tax programs are popular because they're filled immediately. If you're looking for something a little different, you could attend one of the Friends of the Library's programs. Our Friends group, which is a nonprofit booster group of the library, hosts fundraisers and programs throughout the year. Our cookie fundraiser raised approximately $1,500 this year, and our book sale room brings in about $1,000 each month. The Friends group also has a series of 8 evening programs a year, ranging from history to gardening. The Friends efforts pay for the children's programs and bring in new members. I'd like to invite you all to join our Friends group on Wednesday, May 21st, either in the morning at 9:30 to 11 or 6:30 to 8 in the evening, where the staff will be on hand to highlight materials, programs, and services that the library has to offer. And speaking of learning more about the library, I'd like to apologize for an oversight. I recently learned that the school board has not been getting a board packet from the library board. I've handed out a sample of what I'd like to send you monthly. And unless you tell me differently, we'll forward these items to the board secretary and she'll pass them on to you. And I got to apologize, missing in there is the minutes that came as a separate email, and I just didn't send that to you, but I can email anybody that would like that. And I'd just like to say you're free, feel free to email or call Susan, Mark, or me about anything. And of course, we'll answer questions if you have that too.
Hi, I'm Susan Arnold, and as some of you may know who actually read the paperwork, when it came to my appointment, one of the things that I'm most interested in is I had seen the success of the library for children, and it is packed, and the programs are wonderful. I wanted to see if we could improve upon our library usage for adults, not only older teenagers, but also young adults and senior citizens. And so I'm so glad all of you are here tonight because there's things you need to hear. Get ready to write it down. Everybody needs to first get a library card. And I'm just going to run through a quick list of how this will change your life. First of all, there's no reason for anybody in this room to pay to read the morning call. You can use your library card to get a subscription through the library website. You can also use your library card to get a subscription to the Washington Post. If you want to read the New York Times, you can read it, but you have to read it in the library. That's a pretty expensive one. We have Canopy, spelled with a K. You can link to that from the website as well. And it is films, documentaries, TV shows, TV series, kids shows, and they even have some new releases. To be honest, my experience in Canopy is a little artsy. You're not going to get like the ones that just came out of the theater, but you can get those other places. Libby is a link from our website. Libby, you can use any device you want to download books, and you can down them as print or audio, which is pretty amazing. Hoopla, also books and film. Anyone can walk into our library with a card and sit there and do all of the ancestry.com research they want to do that is free and on our servers. Here's a real one I find most impressive. You can sign up museum passes for 7 days. 2 passes, and that will get you and whoever is with you into places like the National Constitution Center, the Elmwood Park Zoo, America on Wheels, the Mercer Museum, the Lehigh Valley Heritage Museum. They're all at the desk. You have to ask for them, sign out 2 passes, you get them for a week. And lastly, there is a tech intern from DeSales, which I just love. Anyone who needs computer help can go into the library, find out when she's going to be there, and she will teach you how to do whatever you want to do. My friends moved, and I don't know how to do this Zoom thing. Can you teach me how to set up a Zoom and invite people? Or can you teach me how to fill out an online form? Anybody struggle to do that sometimes, depending on what server you're in. And she will be there 9 hours a week until the end of the semester, which will probably hit the end of the first week in May. So those are some things for all of you. So make sure you get your cards. I'm watching.
Thank you. And I just want to follow up a little bit. Obviously, one of the main aspects of our mission is to promote early learning and help prepare our kids for school. And to help with that, we have hands down the best children's librarian in the region with Melissa. She held 245 programs for youth in 2024. And these programs were attended by a total of 4,325 kids, along with another 3,000 adults. And we also have Marilla on staff, who is mainly our cataloger, but also assists with putting together our summer reading program and figures out fun new things to add to our collection. She's responsible for the few dozen kits that we have. We have Learn With Me kits and nature kits that are basically bags of books and activities that are centered on a specific topic, whether it be dinosaurs or the police, or for the nature packs, they're meant to get kids to go outside with astronomy or hiking. And we just added last week another batch of kits that we're calling teacher kits. And they are also based on a specific theme. And the first batch we have are colors. And so how to teach your kids about colors. But in addition to all this, I want to mention some other things that I don't want to get lost in the mix that we've been trying to collaborate with you in various ways. I want to remind everyone that Southern Lehigh students have access to Libby / Overdrive, our ebook consortium collection through Sora, through your school link. And they have access only to the youth titles. And we have about 2,000 juvenile books and another 1,000 young adult books that they have access to. Additionally, Southern Lehigh teachers who are not otherwise eligible for a library card because their home municipality does not support a local library can now receive a card to be used to check out materials for classroom use. Our board made that change. Other little things, Marilla manned a table promoting our services at the middle school open house this last September. Melissa helped at the intermediate school Scholastic Book Fair in November. Melissa and Marilla will be participating in the STEM Expo at the middle school on February 25th. We will be hosting the school district librarians in-service meeting in March, which will include a meeting with Marilla and Melissa to discuss further collaboration on what the library can do and help within the district. Melissa will be participating in Career Day for the 8th graders in May, and we have been hosting Odyssey of the Mind team practices at the library. So we are trying to be there for you all. We want to do more with you, and I'm looking forward to more and more collaboration as the months and years go by. So thank you very much for your support.
Are we open to questions or?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you
Yeah.
hold, not to put you on the spot. But thank you so much for that information. It's great to hear how, our school tax dollars are going to use, because we in part fund the library, which is why we have 2 representatives on the library. Yes, I was going to say, questions, Mr. Mond.
First of all, thank you for your time and the efforts that have been going on over the past couple of years. I appreciate those. I also appreciate the additional engagement with the school district. That's our primary mission here. And as a fiduciary for the library, I think it's vital for us to have additional interaction. So I'm happy to hear that. A while back, I had asked about metrics and what K through 12 students in our population here at the school district are in the library usage daily, weekly, monthly. And one of the challenges, at least back then, was that I was told from a previous presentation that the counting device was not in place or repaired properly in the library. I know that's been fixed at this point. So my question is, first of all, again, I appreciate the additional interactions with the school district. I think it's vital to get an understanding of how many students within the school district, not pre-K, are utilizing the resources there, so that we can keep monitoring that and improving it over time and coming up with ways that we have better utilization for our dollars. So I'd appreciate if that could happen. And then also with regard to communication, Ms. Parsons, thank you for acknowledging that we weren't getting the information. I would ask also that we get budget updates with that, just so that we can take a look at what's happening. I know you have you've been working on updating some of those methodologies. So it would be good to have that. And then I guess as well, is the Lower Saucon item complete and out of the way and done at this point? I think it is, but it would be good to get a quick update there.
Short answer is yes. The Office of Commonwealth Libraries only makes certain administrative decisions at a certain time of the year. So they are not going to convene and make a special exception to approve the return of Lower Saucon to the Hellertown Library until at least July. I thought it was going to be even till October, but I've heard maybe that's sometime in July. But that being said, it's a fait accompli that they are going to approve this. So because we all know that it's just a matter of administrative time, Southern Lehigh and all of the other libraries in the Lehigh Carbon Consortium are now honoring Lower Saucon residents and their cards. And so basically everything has returned to normal.
Great. Thanks for that update. And thank you for everything that's moving there, and appreciate to hear additional reports over the year. Obviously don't need to be every meeting, but at some point, if we could come up with a schedule, I think that would be helpful, but thanks for everything.
I see that Mr. Carney wants to weigh in just and ask a question. I know it's uncomfortable to stand there, but thank you for your time. It's important. Before you start, Mr. Carney, I just wanted to say that yes, Ms. Parsons noted there was a communication issue, but I also want to say it was a two-way street. It was partially our fault as well. In fact, before the holiday season, before Thanksgiving, because she had my personal number, finally reached out because she hadn't been hearing back and forth communication. And both Dr. Mann and I realized that suddenly the school district account had decided to send all public library emails to our trash or spam or whatever folder, to the ether, as Dr. Mann says. So that is not to say that the communication was not being attempted. In part, it's because all of a sudden our internet decided that was junk. So it's on our end as well. And we apologize to them. And I just want to say publicly, they have tried to reach out to present here, but the emails were not going to the right? Okay. Yes, Dr. Mann and I had a big, one day. But Mr. Carney, you wanted to speak.
Just very quick. Thank you, Mrs. Parsons and Mrs. Arnold, for representing the district. Appreciate it. A lot of my books at home are from the used book room. My daughter used to enjoy the tail wagging program that you had. And often I would sign out books for my daughter, so it might not look like she was utilizing it as a student, but I didn't know if that was tracked at all. The other thing was I appreciate the reminder that our vision of what a library used to be growing up has evolved. And even with what we're doing in Southern Lehigh with the high school library, that it's a different vision of what maybe it used to be. So thank you for that reminder of all the new programs.
Yeah, I just want to say for everybody, I said it this last time at the last meeting, but there was a different audience. For everything that's here that's offered at the library, like pass the word along to folks in the district, because I, for one, I'll be having a conversation with a certain individual that presented tonight that I wasn't aware of this information, but I learned of some new things tonight that would also be an awesome benefit that I just wasn't fully aware of that we had. So for like myself and like Steve says, like having that normal cadence here, I'll say for everybody that's up there, like it doesn't have to be every meeting, but even like new services that are provided and stuff, like sharing it. This is a different audience. There's a different outlet that this information gets out to. It's also a good opportunity that maybe boosts the attendance and number of cards that are passed out to everybody. So like I said, I learned a lot of different new things tonight that we'll be having a separate conversation over family dinner one night, but we'll handle that differently.
Anyone else? No, I want to thank you. I just want to say, while Mr. Mon mentioned additional data that you can provide to help us, outreach to our K-12 population and see how that's being utilized. I just also want to extend thanks that I know your pre-K programs, as you mentioned tonight, are packed. And as we all know, like $1 spent in a pre-K environment goes towards, saves this school district $15 or more once kids get to school, because they are already in a language-rich environment because our community has a library and because all populations are taking advantage of it. And so I know Mr. Carney, as a first grade teacher, can speak to this, and I have my elementary ed certification. That pre-K resource in this community is also critical, and we thank you for supporting that and reaching out to our schools as well. So thanks. Any more? Any no? All right, great. Now, yes, thank you. And feel free, you may sit to stay for the meeting, but as you are done, also feel free to, leave and go on with your lives as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, so now we'll have the changing of the guard and the why and community partners that they brought with them this evening to discuss are welcome. And we'll let our library folks exit and our why presentation take the stage. Will give us one moment to settle and have those doors open and close.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Good evening. I'm not with the Y. I'm with the pool board. Almost said the library board because I was on that for years too. But so I guess I'm the teaser before the Y folks are going to come up and talk. So my name is Bruce Ames, and I'm a member of the Southern Lehigh Community Pool Board. I'm here with other members of our board, as well as Tricia Feintel, who is the Chief Operations Officer for the River Crossing YMCA. She'll also be addressing you later on in this presentation. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the Southern Lehigh School District and the board for inviting us to attend tonight's meeting, and especially to Dr. Mahan and Emily for placing us on the agenda. We worked hard to get there. Tonight, I plan to review several points regarding the anticipated path forward for the Southern Lehigh Pool. First, I'd like to point out that we have 5 current board members. It was mentioned earlier that we have 3 board members. We've had 5 board members, I think all of 24 and all that. So as per our bylaws, require that we have at least 5 board members, and that's what we have. We have a complete unanimous agreement amongst the 5 of us regarding moving forward with the distributing the Solico pool to the River Crossing YMCA. So we're all in agreement with it, and we want to move forward. Second, we've garnered a complete unanimous agreement from the Southern Lehigh Living Memorial Community Park Board regarding not only the distribution of the Solico pool to the River Crossing YMCA, but allowance of building a new YMCA facility on the park grounds as well. And Trish is going to talk about that a little bit. Third, the Solico Pool Board bylaws state the purpose of the board is, and I'm going to read this because it's right out of our bylaws. I don't want to mess it up. To own and operate a swimming pool facility to promote swimming and other aquatic sports and activities, to provide educational and instructional opportunities related to aquatics, to foster local, amateur, collegiate, and master's level swimming opportunities, to organize and conduct swimming meets and competitions, and to provide related social activities for the benefit of the entire community. This is the entire reason why we want to move forward on this current path, both to maintain commitment to the pool's existence and to the community in the district. Fourth, the current model for a nonprofit standalone pool is simply antiquated and unsustainable in the current economic climate. Most other pools in the Lehigh Valley are either township or privately owned. This one is not. The insurmountable challenges faced by the Solico pool continued despite Herculean and exhausting fundraising efforts, despite multiple personal donations by the current 100% voluntary board. This is also despite the Solico pool staying open during COVID-19 pandemic. The pool remained open. Notably, other YMCA facilities stayed open. For example, the Upper Perk YMCA, which simply illustrates our common dedication to the community. Fifth, and based upon the aforementioned facts, it was a logical and necessary move to ally with the River Crossing YMCA, an organization which upholds the same values and principles as those embodied by Solico, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the community. Sixth, per our bylaws, the Solico board is entirely within its rights to distribute the pool to a similar organization. And again, I'm going to read this because there's some legal gobbledygook in there and I don't want to mess it up. Upon dissolution of other termination of the corporation, which is the association, No part of the property or the corporation or any of these proceeds shall be distributed to or inure to the benefit of any of the members and or members of the board of directors of the corporation. All such property and proceeds subject to the discharge of valid obligations of the corporation and to the applicable provision by the Pennsylvania Not-for-Profit Corporation Law of 1988. As amended, shall be distributed, directed by the board of directors of the corporation to and among in the following order of preference. Any organization, number one, any organization or organizations providing services within the geographical region serviced by the corporation, which are organized and operated for exempt purposes similar to those of the corporation. Or number two, any organization or organizations providing the services outside the geographical region served by the corporation, which are organized and operated for exempt purposes similar to those of the corporation, provided, however, that such recipient or recipients, I told you this was long, at the time quality as an exempt organization or organizations under section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code or any corresponding future revisions of the Internal Revenue. In sum, this proposal is an unequivocal win for both the school district and the community. And I'm going to underline this statement. There is no taxpayer expense at all. And this distribution maintains continuity of the Silico community pool, which I heard a lot of folks tonight say that that's what they're looking for, which is the penultimate desire and goal of the Silico Pool Board. Thank you for your attention to this. And now I'd like to turn this presentation over to Jen Johnson, who's a board member of the River YMCA and a local resident of the Saucon Valley and the school district.
Hi, everyone. Like Bruce said, my name is Jennifer Johnson, and I am a community member and volunteer who has lived here for 22 years. I'm also a board member of the Lehigh Valley Regional Advisory Board for the YMCA, and it's called the River Valley YMCA. It's a recent merger. The Greater Valley YMCA has recently merged with the Bucks and Hunterton YMCAs. So that organization oversees all of the YMCAs in the Lehigh Valley. My husband and I have 3 sons, all of whom went through the Southern Lehigh School District, had an excellent education here, and are all now thriving adults. When we moved here 22 years ago, I was disappointed by the lack of a community center, but loved the parks and green space. Fast forward to about 9 years ago when I decided to gather a group of volunteers to pursue the idea of building a community center or bringing a branch of the YMCA to our area. Although this is something that I selfishly wanted when my kids were younger, they're all gone now, I still continue to work towards this goal because I know it is so needed in our Southern Lehigh community. Think about it. A place where we could all gather, explore activities, enjoy a healthy lifestyle. Doesn't that sound appealing? A place where everyone from babies to senior citizens could come together to stay active, both physically and mentally. A place where our youth and high school sports teams could practice if there's inclement weather or lack of gym space, or for the swim team. A place where seniors could go to escape loneliness. A place where teenagers could go to connect and socialize. This is what a YMCA could mean for the Southern Lehigh community. The YMCA management of the Silico Pool is just one step in furthering this goal. The Silico Pool would greatly benefit from this professional management agreement. The YMCA has been in the business of running pools for over 100 years. They will help to keep our pool functioning, our swim lessons running, and our summer swim team thriving. This management agreement will only serve to better our community and to continue to keep our kids safe around water, which is vital. My 3 boys all swam for the Silico swim team for many years, and I know how important and valuable this pool is to our community. Let's make it even better. Our facilities in Southern Lehigh are a bit tired. Our pool was struggling over the past few years, and even the Southern Lehigh Living Memorial Park, where many of our sports teams practice, is struggling. So in talking with many community members over the years, I have found that Southern Lehigh overwhelmingly supports the idea of a new YMCA here. Tonight, I ask for your support for this new Salico pool management agreement and your future support as we continue to pursue a local branch of the YMCA for the Southern Lehigh community. Next up, I'd like to introduce Trish Feintel, the COO of the River Crossing YMCA.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you for everyone in the audience this evening and in listening to us and what it is that we're seeking to do. Just a little bit about myself. Again, Trish Feintel, Chief Operations Officer. I've been with the Y Movement for well over 27 years. I reside in Hunterdon County, but don't let me fool you. My in-laws live here, and my 3 nephews swim for Parkland Aquatic Club. So we are entrenched in competitive aquatics, and swimming and the sport of swimming and all that it does for our youth is near and dear to my heart, and as you can hear, my family's heart. What I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about who is River Crossing YMCA. So we are a nonprofit. We are a newly formed YMCA as of July 1st. As you've heard, it was Bucks Hunterdon came together with Lehigh Valley, and we are so proud now to be serving 2,000 staff. We're serving more than 142,000 individuals, and we provide more than $12 million in community assistance. And that could look like financial assistance, as well as through something that we call our pathway programs. So we're very proud coming together with Lehigh Valley, and we're so incredibly proud about the impact that we're able to deliver. So let me briefly share with you what's happening across the nation. So there's 2,600 YMCAs across the nation. And what's happening is as CEOs are raising their hand and saying that they wish to retire, merger is encouraged, right? We're seeing this everywhere. So if you're wondering, well, how did these 2 states and 4 counties come together? Dave Fagerstrom, who you may know, who used to be the CEO of the Lehigh Valley YMCA, did in fact retire. Our boards got together. We ran our cultures and our missions and our territories, if you will, and how we can best serve through our strategy filters. And as of July 1st, we became the River Crossing YMCA. And so I say this because in this merger, we're able to be so much stronger together. And with that, that means being able to uncover areas of mission opportunity like we're seeing this evening. I have never been more overwhelmed or proud of the individuals that I have met through this experience. You have in the audience 2 board members from the Living Memorial Park Board. Behind me, you heard Jen mention that she leads the fundraising group that's hopeful to build the Upper Saucon branch. And then you have, the Saucon Creek branch. And then you have Bruce and the 5 board members that I got to meet from the Salico pool. Their passion and the amount of volunteer hours that they have given over to want to lift and build this community has just been so inspiring. And to that, in getting to know Jen, really Jen then connected us with the Salico Pool Board, got to know them and their struggles. And I'll tell you, they're not alone. So in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, if you just Google the Flemington Pool, you're going to find an empty pool that used to be the gem of Flemington. Now, this is my hometown, right? Where we have individuals that met at the pool, got married, raised children. Their children returned to the pool. Their children became lifeguards. That pool got turned over to the Y pre-merger prior to us coming in. COVID hit, the pool sat empty. They didn't have the funds to reopen. It sat empty again. We now have vandalism. We now have children skateboarding inside the deep end, to the point that we have to put a rope because obviously there's still some water. There needs to be a rope where if God forbid somebody fell in with the remaining water left, they could come out. And we are now fundraising to rebuild that pool to a tune of $4 million. This is what happens when community pools sit empty. So when Jen introduced us to Salico Pool Board and we understood the dire straits that they were in, we want to serve mission, we want to keep this alive for the community, we thought, can we help you? And this is where we are, is we've been asked to manage the pool. We would be overjoyed to manage the pool. I mean, I'm not going to kid you, pools are headaches. This is why not everybody stays in the business of them. But here's who we are in servicing pools. We operate 9 year-round indoor pools, 4 outdoor pools. We have 6 swim teams with more than 600 athletes and their families enrolled. Our Safety Around Water program has provided free safety swim lessons to 3,000 swimmers. So we've tested over 10,000 children, 3,000 presented at-risk drowning character behaviors. Our donors and funders pay for them to get free swim lessons. And we have a CapEx program, well over $3 million annually, that we reinvest into our assets to keep them operating and to keep them thriving. And so in this management, this is exactly what we're going to do. Keep it sustained, management, and thriving. I've been asked, are you going to increase fees? No. I've been asked, can our staff come back and work? Absolutely. We want this experience to be seamless. I'm not here to sell anyone. I just want to be able to support the individuals behind me in this community in making this happen. Last but not least, I'll just share that, again, in this whole seamless service and this future vision that you keep hearing about, we are exploring the possibilities of moving from the current potential site of the Saucon Creek branch, which I'm sure you're aware of, which is near the library site, to moving it to the Salico pool site. The reason being is what you heard this evening, the visibility, right? The walkability, the youth that are already there and feel safe in the park. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing better than having a great ice cream stand or ice cream store with a Y. It's just like business, right? Just burning calories. And so we are exploring that. We are exploring that. And then with this, what we're looking at in this future vision are amenities such as the pool, an indoor collegiate sized gymnasium, studios, cafe, a real community hub that sits and is nestled in that beautiful park. But again, that's an exploration. But for now, the purpose of this evening is to say, let us help these individuals who are so passionate about their communities. I can promise you that service will be exactly what everybody's been used to and accustomed to. And then again, we'll explore that next step of where we could go for the future of the Saucon Creek branch. So thank you. And if there, I guess, no questions, we're good.
So many questions, so little time.
I know.
Yes,
I
we
know.
thank you for that presentation. Our goal here is to now, as the agenda says, have a board and solicitor information and community discussion. Perhaps whatever we'd like to lead off with. I don't know if our solicitor, we have had some discussion back and forth. If we have new information about ownership and where we are with that, if we want to leave that off or we want to save that to the end. Steve, I don't want to interrupt, whichever you'd prefer.
Yeah, I think the counselor's not ready for that, so we'll hold off on that. We have a lot of investigatory work to do, being the property owners, if you will. First off, I want to thank you and the YMCA organization for stepping up. I can't say that I understand what the heck happened if I were to quote it over the past few years compared to what has been happening for really decades. It's disappointing to say the least. And now we are in a situation where we have little time, as it was conveyed to me, to keep moving on this. So I don't want to belabor the previous disasters that must have happened to get us in this position, but I want to look at, where we may go as a community to ensure that we have a great opportunity for all families to be able to participate in not only the YMCA, but the swimming in general. So with that, I guess I'd like to ask, given the time frame of this entire situation, how far along have the discussions been between the board members of the existing pool and the Y, and how far along have you come for a strategic plan or some method to this? Because it is a phased project, as I understand it right now. And, we've got these initial phases to stop the bleeding, if you will, and then move into something that's a little more longer term and coming up with that complete plan. So where is that, I would say, is the first question.
Sure. So we began conversations in early fall between the YMCA and the Salico Pool Board. We did complete a full audit of the facility of itself to understand what's at stake, potential future capital expense, et cetera. So that's been completed. We also have, we're at the ready to open registration to the community as of March 1st. both with the webpage and the ability to register online. We are, as soon as we're given the green light, hearing that there are already vested staff, it would just be a matter of staffing. And then, of course, we have the facilities team to get that pool up and running. So the future vision, as you heard from Jen, there are multiple community partners involved in this future vision. They've been in campaign mode for quite some time now. Our CEO has walked the property. Our next steps for us, given where this all goes and we can keep moving forward, really would be to begin to get an understanding of project costs. What would that look like in moving from the current site over to the Silico site? But we are, in terms of managing the pool, I dare I say ready to go, but we've done this before, and I believe everything's in line.
So that's great. I assume there are deadlines to that immediate timeline. What's the so-called drop dead date for you to be successful in opening?
So I know that the community, I understand, look forward to registration in early February. So obviously that's next week, right? There's an early bird registration. We're committed to a March 1st registration pending this. We don't want the community to lose interest in this pool and head to another outdoor pool because pools are expensive. So you do need the memberships to come in to be able to maintain. I mean, chlorine prices alone are just up 10% just this year. So would love to know sooner than later with opening up registration so that we know we have the constituency to sustain the pool this summer.
Yeah. So you're looking at a 4-week, I mean, let's put it in real terms now, 4 weeks to get your plan launched and have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you had mentioned about budget that things aren't changing in cost. How can you actually say that at this point if we have a financial challenge, I'll put it politely, with the existing financial makeup of the pool? How do you know that you can sustain it with existing operating budgets?
Sure. So the financial challenge that I believe Silico is up against, and this is what happened to them past summer, is you're 1 day away from a capital asset breaking down, whether that's a filter, your flow, whatever that may look like. And for them, and I don't want to speak for the board, but the savings, if you will, in the bank were nil. And so when they did close for those 10 days, it was a matter of, it was a significant capital investment that they had to make, and also not being able to make payroll at the same time. For us as the Y, we did run the budget. I have looked at their past 3 years of their enrollment. And again, we did the audit of the current facility, and we do believe that we can successfully manage this summer. And as I mentioned before, our CapEx program, we take great pride in driving a successful association so we can save money year over year to reinvest in capital. And so that's exactly where we're going to help them.
And the plan is specifically to be a management entity operation.
That's correct.
Probably Mr. Eames must answer this, but I know that the pool was completely rebuilt. As a member of it, I don't remember the exact date of that.
2014.
Yeah. So it's not that long ago. So
it's got great bones.
Yeah. So
I'm understanding it was 2011. I'm sorry.
Okay. Nevertheless, though, I think probably the construction method of that is well within its life, I'm assuming. But is there any comment on that, Mr. Eames, or anybody else that is involved in that? Or
yeah, so I can tell you,
we heard some issues from another community member.
Yeah, we have pools that are well over 50 years old that are very healthy. It's all in how you maintain them and keep the upkeep. I'll just share with you where they had spoken about board members donating. There was a tear in the liner that occurred just in January, and that tear caused a drain of the pool, fixing of the liner, and then a refilling of the pool to a tune of $7,000. These volunteers gave dollars out of their own pocket to keep that pool going. So that, it just goes to show you the amount of expense that just comes at you.
Yeah, or the potential issues.
Yeah.
But now, as a management entity regarding the budget, you're going to need some sort of reserves in there at some point at the end of the day to be able to cover some of these maintainability issues over time. So how quickly are we going to be able to, or the organization going to be able to, have a good budget and anticipate some of these potential issues over time before it becomes problematic?
Sure. So we did build into this current budget for this summer dollars for maintenance and repair, as well as lawn cutting and all of that good stuff. We also built in ways to generate new revenue, and hopefully with additional staffing to be able to offer even more swim lessons, Friday night events, et cetera. The budget this year for 2025, we're slightly above break even, if at best. And that doesn't count into the sweat equity of what's involved in bringing it to life. The hopeful future vision is we want to continue to manage the pool, to keep it alive for the community, but then also, as we had shared, is wouldn't it be amazing if we continue down this path and it does become the future branch? It's worth it to us both to serve the community and to see that hopeful future. And this is why we're here this evening. The last thing we want is for the pool to close. We also manage 2 pools. We work with the city of Easton. We manage 2 of their pools as well. So we're very familiar in this space.
Well, I appreciate your work ahead of time on this. When we start talking about the subsequent phases and property ownership, that's
Sure.
one area that we're still
100%.
investigating all this. But is the thought or intention at this point for that other facility it's to be co-located with the existing pool, right? For the future.
We still have a
Why,
lot of
if
fun.
you
We
will,
still have a
right.
lot of fundraising to go before we're even ready to put a shovel in the ground. So
Yep.
what we would like to do is to run 2 parallel tracks to this. We would like to continue to determine if we can in fact build on the Salico pool site, while we continue to manage the pool. We would like to continue to explore that.
Yeah, so that gets
Asking Steve if we would destroy the Salico pool in order to build this new facility. The answer is
No.
no.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that wasn't the question, but that's a good supplement
no.
to the whole thing.
Could
yeah.
we repeat that into just a mic so the people, everyone who might not have been able to hear, Jen, if you could.
Yeah, I was just saying that if we were to build a new YMCA adjacent to the Salico pool, that would not include destroying the Salico pool or tearing it down in any way. That is nowhere in our plan. The plan is to keep Salico pool functioning, thriving as it's always been for our community.
Thanks. I assumed that, and that's great to have the confirmation. We have a lot of legal aspects to this, as Counselor could concur. So where are we with batting back and forth agreements or intent and all of that as to, how far are you on, let's say, a boilerplate or a preliminary agreement that would be presented to, for example, the school district being the property owner, or something thereof, depending on how all of the things work out. But
Or perhaps phrase like, what do you need from us tonight so that the future of our Salico pool continues? Like what is I think that's part of, Steve, what you were driving out of. What's your deadline? What's your rollout? You're looking at March. You have 4 weeks.
yeah, I
It
mean,
looks
we
like
have a
you're ready
lot
to
of
go.
legal aspects to get to with agreements and making sure that all parties involved, for example, are on board. And I think part of it obviously is coming from you as the management entity, and probably have some, things started already. But how far along are you with that, first off? And then
Sure. So typically what we would do is something of an MOU. So it would just be changing. It's just the Salico pool is extending just the management of the pool to River Crossing YMCA. So in the past, when we've done anything like this, it's been through the form of an MOU. We do not have that drafted yet because we wanted to get through this step, but that's an easy hurdle for us to overcome.
And that would be a timeline. You could probably get that together in a week or
Yeah.
something to that
Yes.
effect.
Mhm.
And then we need time to go through those hurdles and come up with, solid agreements on all of this. I think that's, when we talk about timeline, I'm bringing this up. It's very important that we clean up the agreements because it's been somewhat ambiguous to start with.
I can imagine.
Unfortunately, right? So now we're here as stewards to clean it up and get it back in action and move forward. So I guess from the school district standpoint, Dr. Mahon, who becomes involved from our side aside from the solicitor? Do we have a communication interface between any of this at this point?
We've had, I think, excellent communication. I've had the privilege of having a couple meetings. I think a lot of pieces may or may not fall in place once we have a sense of the legal issues, because I think it's really hard to move forward for anyone without knowing that. And in fairness, they're very complex issues going back 100 years with all kinds of complexities to it. So we've had a very good conversation. I've kind of been a conduit to the board. Mrs. Gaiman has had excellent communication with the groups, and we would certainly have that continue. And I think our speed will be informed or will be affected by the information that we're able to see and how we cut through the bureaucratic and legal complexities that are involved with this.
So would it be out of line for me to ask from our legal counsel, let's say projected timeline as to when we would be potentially ready to have additional conversations? Because I know it's not exact, but roughly speaking, do you have an idea?
And also as much as you can share on, what those kinds of conversations, where we are, what we know, and what needs to take place. Can you give us a legal update on that?
Sure, absolutely. So as Dr. Mann indicated, so we had to take a look at the property. There are two parcels, one containing the pool, and there was question concerning whether the district owned the property or not based upon some tax assessment records that said contrary. So my office had engaged in an extensive title search, and while there are contradictory records, we believe that the district does indeed own the pool, owns both parcels in entirety. However, we will have to go back and correct the inconsistencies in some of the tax assessment records. We do not think that that will be something that will be complicated. However, as a result of this title search, we found a master lease and we found 4 potential subleases, 2 which have been recorded, 2 which have not been recorded, and some that we don't even have copies of the documentation from. So I'm hearing bylaws that require certain things. So like the more documentation that can come to my office for review, the better off that we will be to be able to sort through which lease does what, and if we enter into one lease, what are the ramifications with all the other leases. And I'm happy to look at any draft MOU, but I think the big things were, one, we would need point people from all the various organizations and stakeholders that have been identified so we can work with Dr. Mann to get the required documentation for us to review, as well as the individuals who know probably more information than I do, looking at 100-year look back. So I think that would be appropriate, Mr. Mon. And the quicker we can get point people, the quicker we can get documentation, the quicker we can go through it and come back to the board with options.
Thanks for that.
It sounds like if what I'm hearing, Steve, what I'm hearing you say, and I would like to echo, is that I don't want, as a school district who owns the property, to stand in the way of our community having access to and our kids having access to a pool. And so I would be comfortable kind of as a board, although we don't have a voting item tonight, I would be very comfortable saying to our solicitor and to your contact and point people and whoever needs to be involved that can we as a board agree to direct our solicitor and our administration to work with all those necessary point people to assure that we are moving forward in the hopes of hitting that, whatever deadlines are necessary so that our community has an open functional pool this summer. Like, am I hearing that we are looking to move forward with these talks to figure this out? Yes, we're not putting a kibosh on any of these conversations between solicitors and agreements. We want to continue to pursue that.
There's a lot of investigatory work that has to happen. And I
Yeah.
would say that we can't commit to anything at this point until we get those documents. Unfortunately, right, we need to make sure that we get this cleaned up and that we are doing these things properly. For example, other tax entities, we have these properties, as I at least understand it, maybe in the borough of Coopersburg and Upper Saucon Township. So there's different governmental entities involved with the properties as well. I don't know the implications to that, but that's another nuance, right? So I would think that, we could move forward with getting the information gathering from all of the stakeholders and get that set up to work in parallel as a good faith effort. Dr. Mahon and legal counsel, does that make sense? And there should be no reason why we can't start working on that, right?
Yes, Ms. Ron, correct.
But I'm hearing some talk over here. Would anyone else like to weigh in or contradict? Like I'm all for moving forward and giving all parties involved permission to talk to figure this out so that our community stays. Because what I don't want to have happen is management shutdowns. Like we had 10 days last summer. I don't want 10 or 20 or no openings this. So I want to fast track this. But Mr. Mond is right. We need to make sure we do it well, right? And glad we're cleaning this up now so that this won't be an issue in future years. Any other board members wish to speak on the issue or contradict that kind of moving forward with solicitor investigation and talking to different parties to figure this out?
Just to confirm, Jess, that would be your group. You guys would run point and start hitting the ground running with figuring out some of those entities that you discussed with us earlier on contacts and information.
Well, I think it would be helpful starting from absolutely nothing. Like there's people here that's been identified from the pool board, from the memorial board. I'm assuming the information can be provided at least as a starting point. And I'm sure with Dr. Mann's help, we can
Yes.
search through the other
Give
ones.
us a list of to-dos or questions, and we will get to work immediately on, trying to find the answers.
Yeah, please. Yes. Yeah.
I think due to the timing of all of this now, we're moving at the end of this week. We're in February already. So it's probably pertinent to have a follow-up on this sooner than later, and probably our next meeting, to get at least an update on where we're headed. Does that make sense, Ms. Gaiman?
Yes, I think that involved have a vested interest, and I know that we have people in the audience from some of the organizations that you have mentioned, so it's not going to be difficult to talk to the folks I see sitting out here right now, who are members of the boards of those various leases. But yes, I would say at the next meeting we're looking to have an agenda item to address this as well and to have an update for progress.
I actually have another question in regards to, so this is longer term looking in terms of being a coach here at the district and being a former athlete in the district. I was not a swimmer. However, I coached kids that were swimmers. Does the YMCA have any other, or I should say the Riverview, if I pronounce it
River
wrong.
crossing. It's okay.
I'm thinking about river over in Riverfront, Bethlehem. Do they have any kind of other practices that are in place that they're working with other local entities or local school districts for schools, sports teams specifically, utilizing those facilities? And if you could describe what some of that might look like?
Yeah, and
I know that's out there.
No,
but
it's not.
I think the
'Cause
community does need to hear
yeah.
that from the purposes of our situation with our swim team specifically.
Sure. So it is something that we're very excited to speak about. So we have multiple relationships with local high schools where their swim team does swim in our pools. We do not charge any rent. We keep the pools guarded and safe. And the reason being is because for us, as the youth are coming in through our doors, we're hopeful for, as we like to say, cradle to career. They come into the Y, they stay with the Y. Hopefully they're board members in the future and they bring their families back. So in that relationship, absolutely. This particular branch, what gets me very excited in getting to know Jen and the group and the visioning that they've had, there are multiple partners that do want legal size, collegiate size gymnasiums, et cetera, to be able to compete and to be able to use the facility. To that, we have something called the 7th grade membership initiative, where every 7th grader across River Crossing YMCA receives a free membership at a time when they're most vulnerable. We all remember when we were in the 7th grade when mom and dad said, you can let yourself into the house now, right? So we offer the 7th grade membership. We also offer internship opportunities for students in our Doylestown location. There are students that have selected occupational therapy as their future major. They come to the Y, again, in collaboration, free of charge, and they work in our wellness center. So there's multiple examples of student to YMCA engagement as well as with faculty. The only other thing I'll mention, Centennial School District as another example, we're helping them with recruitment And so every teacher that works in the Centennial School District does receive savings in a YMCA membership. And then in turn, they market programs that are happening at the Y. So it's a nice recruiting tool for them as well. So we have multiple examples of that. Yeah, we would be excited to serve you as well.
I want to make sure that we have a challenge and a commitment from interested parties in this between the pool board, have the school board, but the pool board, the Y, and then the other entities, because there's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we cannot just say quote unquote dilly dally with this. Otherwise you're going to have challenges. So I would recommend that anybody that is hearing me now that is involved in this some way to reach out and make sure that you're doing it efficiently and quickly and getting information together so that we can make this happen. Otherwise, without everybody's teamwork, it's not going to happen.
Agree.
So, and it will make your job as the Y very difficult, and we don't want that. Thank you. I appreciate all the information. I think it was, very well laid out.
Thank you.
And thanks for the work so far.
And it sounds like you've been in contact with all of the parties,
We have.
already, and
They're
that's
here.
great. And I can
Yeah.
see folks in the
Yeah.
audience from all those parties who have come out. So thank you for that and making our job easier as we move forward.
Sure.
And we'll have, I guess, our people talk to your people to proceed and figure out all these agreements and what is entailed. All
That's
right.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, and at this time, we have a long meeting. We've been here a while, and so anyone who's trapped in the back far corner who wishes to leave at any point in time,
I'm trapped right here.
No, not you that you're waving. I see some faculty who are like, get me out now. Sorry, but yes, by all means, at this time, please. And you're also welcome to stay, and at any point in time, excuse yourself. Thank you all for attending. Yes. Okay, we'll take a brief opportunity. What's that? Yeah, we have to wait for Mr. Mon to and the room to clear. We're just going to pause for 1 minute while the room clears and we get board members back.
You got to take that off back there and not back there.
Thanks.
I have a charger. USB-C charger. Expenditures at some. Oh, yeah, you have to read it right in there before that link comes up. It's like a good 30 seconds. New Jersey is also a great
Okay, if I could call us back to order, you could take your seats, or by all means, at any point in time during the meeting, feel free to depart. But I'll move on to the next item. If we're all here again, all board members are here and seated. Thanks for that quick break and allowing folks who wanted to go home to clear the room. Moving back to our agenda, we now have, yes, exactly. One last thing on Dr. Mann's report, which is actually a voting item. Dr. Mann?
Yes, one action item from our report tonight. We asked the board to accept a donation of $10,000, a generous donation from the Lehigh Valley Educators Credit Union. The donation will be used to improve student education in the Southern Lehigh School District.
Motion to approve. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
motion to approve.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Carney, and thank you for the second, Ms. Torba. Any other questions or comments on this item?
Thank you, Lehigh Valley Educators Credit Union.
Yeah, and it's great. I know they get a chance to visit faculty meetings throughout the year and make donations in small amounts. Yeah, and so this time it was just a large amount to the full district for teachers to use. So thanks so much. All right. Seeing no questions or commentary, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now we have curriculum.
And as I conclude my report tonight, I just wish
Yes.
to thank and acknowledge the board. It is Board Appreciation Month. And I just looking quickly at the agenda, you are working on tonight pools, libraries, budgets, community college, sports teams, and so much more. I think it's a reflection of the enormous good that you do for the community. So on behalf of the school district and our community, I want to thank each member for your devotion and the work that you put into this job. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mann. Thanks. Yes. All right. Moving on to curriculum and staff services. We have the Southern Lehigh High School Program of Study, which we got a chance to look at in our last meeting and discuss. I know Mr. Miller made a great presentation. Does anybody, I don't think there's any follow-up we have tonight this evening. Could we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Warick, for the second. Any questions or commentary on the program of study? I just had one slight comment, not going to affect my vote, but my question just in general was when we were looking at that description on the front page of our program of study, there were some honors and AP course listings, an extensive listing, and it had sorry, Mr. Miller, you're walking into an ambush. I'm asking a question and you weren't even in the room. We thank you for your program of study. We have a motion and a second to approve that now. I just had a general comment that I saw a great listing of honors and AP courses, and there were a few asterisks, and I couldn't quite see what those asterisks meant. So if there's a place I could look, or we don't need to belabor it. You can, okay. I wasn't sure if there was somewhere we could look to see what those meant, or.
So, good evening, everyone. When we have a asterisk next to a course, it just means that we have honors and AP weighting associated with it for the terms of GPA. So a single star means there's honors weighting. 2 stars mean AP weighting, which is on a 5-point scale or a 4.5 scale.
Okay, on that introductory list.
Yep.
And my other question was, because I didn't see a pattern to them. I wasn't sure if is there any indication, are all of the AP courses and honor courses listed currently offered? I know some years we have AP and honors. Does that change if we don't have the enrollment to support that course?
We offer every year, whether we have the enrollment or not. So we offer them every year. If one course is down to like 2 or 3, we don't run it, but we still keep it offered in our program of studies. We don't have anything on a rotation of an even or odd year graduation cycle.
Okay, great, thanks. Because that's what I thought. I was gonna lead into my next question, which is, generally speaking, we had a parent comment at the last meeting about difficulty of, or perhaps more challenging the most of applicants to higher echelon academic institutions. And I was wondering if that list was changing year to year, because if, for instance, I was aware that 2 students sign up for a course, we can't run a course with 2 students in it. However, if we are still listing in our AP and honors course lists that say 21, I think it was, AP courses and honor courses are offered, we do offer them, but if it's truly not a reflection of what a student could take, academic institutions, when you're applying to higher learning, colleges and universities, they look at how many courses have you as a student taken versus how many are offered. And so while we could potentially offer 21 courses, maybe in actuality throughout that student's actual career, they didn't have the opportunity to take 21. Maybe they only had the opportunity in their course list to take 17 or 18, or it just depends year to year, right? So my what I would offer, and again, I'm going to approve this, a lot of great things went into, we discussed last time, some LCTI things. I would just offer that as part of that parental concern of looking at that, if we could have some sort of flexible running list of which honors courses and AP courses we do offer, so that it's not out of 21 potential, it's out of truly the number of courses that student had access to, so the institutions are informed that the student could or could not take. So the students aren't penalized in that way, if that makes sense.
I do understand. I will say though, but since we do build our schedule every year off student requests, there is the opportunity every now and then, and it is a minority, where 2 or 3 students aren't able to take an AP course, because for the majority of the students to take it, it will run simultaneously with another singleton AP course.
Absolutely.
So they still have the opportunity every year. That's why we always consistently list all 21. And even with our schedule, even a student who would take any type of little bit of acceleration, there is a maximum number they would be able to get to. We do offer all of them every year and provide them. Just for the students who are humanities based or looking for humanities career, can focus more on the humanities courses, and those who are focusing more on science, STEM, they're able to focus more on those STEM courses as well. We did talk to the admissions officer. They do understand this.
Okay.
Our counseling office has been very extensive when we send this out. And I would say our practice is very common with a lot of other schools within the Lehigh Valley as well.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Just want to mention, and thanks for the explanation on the asterisk.
problem.
I do have one quick comment.
Yes.
Regarding dual enrollment. I just want to reiterate one more time that I think it's outstanding that we're doing it, for sure. The challenge I think we have is making sure that there is awareness by the students, by the parents, and maybe via guidance, to ensure that if they do know what major and maybe where they're going, that they have to be very careful to select dual enrollment that is applicable to their major, so that it is transferable. I think that's one of the things that really needs to be hammered at some point. And I would just challenge the administration and staff to come up with, ways to make sure that they're checking, because there'll be nothing worse, for the student. They graduate, they find out, well, this biology class is not going to transfer. and I was counting on it. So that's the only challenge I have. And I know it is challenging because it's an endless variety of higher learning institutions, right? But at least if they're aware that they've got to check that, I think that's probably critical.
On all the dual enrollment sheets that we give out at the beginning of every school year, they do list 3 websites that allow for transferability checks. And we also do provide our students a script of what they can take and retrofit into an email to admissions office as well, so they can get specific answers from admissions offices for schools that they're considering. So we do give them a template of what they can use to write to the institutions.
That's exactly what I was asking. So you're ahead of me, and that would
I'll
withdraw that comment.
No, it's all right. No, it's fine. It isn't ever changing. We have unfortunately have 1 or 2 students say they were told one year it was going to be approved, and by the time they got there, the school had changed their admissions offerings, and it's a crapshoot. Yeah, it's a crapshoot whack-a-mole type of situation.
I just have a quick comment because I'm actually going through this process with my junior, and it's working out. You know, he's able to communicate to admissions counselors with the information that you've provided, and it's been very positive. So the other thing I just want to push back a little bit, Steve, is that you generally would not. It may not be applicable to your major, but a lot of courses will be applicable for electives and
Gen Eds,
and
yes.
just for general credit. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I know my family is currently at least projected to potentially benefit pretty significantly with a number of credits. So I think you guys are doing a good job. I know it was a little rough start with getting the information out, but I'm seeing improvement, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. The more you can spread the word, the better. But I know I've seen, personally have seen improvement with communication with not only teachers, counselors, and administration communication, which has been good. So yeah, good job.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. I just want to thank Mr. Miller for expanding on the questions that Dr. Wyack and Mr. Mon had, and highlighting that our guidance department does guide our students into course selection and understanding the course selection and the timing of course selection. And if that Department of Guidance needs any help or assistance in making dual enrollment, the awareness that Mr. Mon spoke to, if there's anything you could bring to the board or guidance needs in helping that push or that lift, please bring that forth. But
Yeah,
thank
by
you.
the way, this came up in our education committee meeting at LCTI because we've got dual enrollment and the challenges. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to quickly say it again, but it's a challenge everywhere to be able to keep on top of this. It's a lot of work to put your program together that you got done, and I give you commendations for getting you and everybody that's involved in that. But yeah, that's certainly a challenge there too. We were just talking about it last Wednesday. So
I think I heard all ayes, but I have to say opposed. Abstentions? No. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Does anyone object if I take under curriculum, student, and staff services items 5B, the memorandum of understanding between the Southern Lehigh School District and Kutztown University that Dr. Mann mentioned before, along with the Edmentum contract, the paper scorer contract, the Pennsylvania Power Library Services application, the dual enrollment agreement with Southern Lehigh School District and the Pennsylvania Western University, and the actually just those together. Any objections? We can all still
No
have
objection.
questions and comments about all of them, but any objection?
Nope. I was hoping you were going to do it sooner.
Perfect. Seeing none, can I have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Boyer, and I'm gonna go with the second, Dr. Wyack. Thank you. Any questions on any of these? I did have one question that was on the paper scorer contract. I see it has a May 4th, 2024 designation, and it says confidential. Could you please explain why we have a May 4, 2024 date on the front page and it's a confidential? I wasn't sure. It's a licensing agreement. We're voting to approve this, but I wasn't sure if it's a post-dated retroactive item. If someone could just explain that to us. Yeah, I know. I'll give you a chance to open the link. Oh, it's the paper scorer. It's item 5D. What page is it on? I don't know that I have pages in front of me right now. The front cover page. It says it has the Like
In the top right,
it has the
it just has
logo
the-
and it's right there front
the
page.
date, May 15th.
Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it was May 15th, not May 4th. There you go. May 15th, 2024. We're voting on, so what are we voting on if this is a May 15th, 2024 document? That was my question. Help.
It's
and-
actually dated August 1st towards the bottom as well.
Yeah, there were a couple.
So, yeah,
I
a couple
wasn't
different dates in there. I
Yeah,
saw.
and it said confidential, and it's a public document. I just want everybody to rest assured that it's a public document. It's not a confidential agreement we're voting on here. I just, in general, yeah. Feel free to come to the mic. Sure, yes. Whomever has an answer, by all means.
So this document is a contract we had looked at for an outside service. We were trying to find ways to better look at our testing results with data analysis and for our midterm and final exams for our students. Instead of doing traditional Scantron, we wanted to go with a digital version to allow for greater accessibility for our teachers to pull data, do test analysis, find better ways to provide feedback to our students in a more timely fashion. We looked through a bunch of different vendors. PaperScore came up as one of them. We started this process with them all the way back in August. And there was a little bit of going back and forth with them to make sure we agreed on everything in terms of terms of the contract. I just did hear from them recently. And they're, of course, will honor this and have us move forward with the current contract, which was August 1st. But it was a way of getting us online with them to have some more flexibility with our testing protocols and to give more data analysis and feedback in terms of how our students are doing and using this for improvement of our curriculums and our education.
That's great. Thank you. And so it says a cost of $1.25 per student. Is that per like student use or is that?
It's $1.25 for each student for an entire calendar year.
Gotcha.
So the students can be used in every single class. I said to pay $1.25 for every student. And it's basically, we can use the entire school as an enterprise version.
Gotcha. And you're just using this at the high school?
Right now we are, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So this is in current use? Is this a renewal?
No,
or
this was a brand new contract that we brought to get approved so that we can start using this moving forward.
this school year?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have, I have no objections to this. I'm glad that teachers driven initiatives, I'm happy to support. My only question is from a contractual perspective, like we're looking to sign and vote on a contract with these dates. Like, do we need to make any amendment currently?
So
Can
my
we-
office did review this agreement,
Yeah.
and we have a list of revisions that probably went back to PaperScore, and that's why it's pending solicitor review. And number one, the effective date needs to be January 31st of 2025. So there is a list of things, that went back. So they're caught that, and it was addressed.
Okay. So this is,
And then it's good for 12
and
months?
pending
Good for 12
solicitor review.
months?
I see this now. Thank you. Okay, great. Perfect.
Yes.
And that was caught.
Yes.
And there are a number of other. So we are approving this given all of the corrections that you caught and have reported. And so we will not actually be entering into the contract unless and until those things that are going to be
Correct.
addressed. Okay, great.
Correct. And between Dr. Mann and Dr. Trinkle,
Sure.
they'll send it back to us. We do this all the time.
Yeah,
Go
no,
through
we're
it to make
good.
sure.
Thank you. Okay.
Can you just clarify if if it's good? You say calendar year, but then under there it says licensing cost for a school year. It says 2024, 2025 school year.
Is the cost also changing? Because you're right, Chris,
The
if we're
cost-
voting on a cost.
The cost doesn't change for
it's on page
$1.25 a
3.
student because you have unlimited number of opportunities to use this with your students.
I guess what we're just asking for is clarification on, it says 24-25 school year. We're halfway through the 24-25 school year. So will they be amendable to honoring if it's half of this school year? Are we going to get half of next school year too? Or
And like I said, we started this all the way back in August to have it be approved so that it would be September through May type of art discussion. And last I talked, they can adjust that to be a calendar year. So if we approve it now, it wouldn't be again until January 31st, 2026.
I just want to make sure we're not paying full price for half price deal.
I understand. Totally
No,
understand.
we had January 31st, and the term should be redefined. So that should be readjusted for the 1 year. Yeah.
Okay, so
And-
just so we're clear on what we're voting on, Dr. Wack, we are voting on a $1.25 fee. That does not change. And we are looking at a calendar year revision, correct?
I
Thank
just wanted, the contract should just reflect all of that. And then does it automatically renew or is this something that you'll have to renew every year?
No, we would take a look at it every year.
Thanks.
But all of those change, we would not move forward until they accept all the changes that Attorney Moyer has recommended.
Yeah, it's only good for 1 year and does not automatically renew. The district must renew its subscription annually. And if it does not review at the end of the term, then it terminates.
I'm sorry, are we currently using this product at the high school?
No, we had a pilot, which was free, which is how we were able to figure out what we wanted. Our goal is to use it.
Okay, so then wouldn't the agreement be live then July 1 for 25, 26 to stay in cycle with our other vendors and applications?
That's a question.
Preferably, yes.
For second semester?
Yes, please.
Thank you, that's what I needed to know. So that's why it's January.
Thank you. Doing double duty tonight. Didn't know you'd have to
No,
pop
it's
up.
okay. I'll come as many times as I need to.
Okay, great. All right. I think we're all good. Thank you for addressing the date. The price stays the same and those pending solicitor review changes. Any other questions on this? Or any other item in this list? Again, we are voting on items 5B through F. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thanking on. Now, the reason I had item 5G separated is the elimination creation of sports teams. I believe we just need to have a brief introduction and synopsis of the situation. Dr. Mahan, could you please explain why this is on our agenda this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Gaiman. The Southern Lehigh School District currently competes in the Colonial League in its co-ed middle school soccer program. The Colonial League voted to make a change, which essentially eliminates all competition and the opportunity for our co-ed middle school team to remain viable. So there's really little we can do. That team is not going to be able to function in the 25-26 school year. They'll be fine this spring. It does nothing changes for the spring. In order for that age group, the closest approximation to that age group, to continue to have opportunities to play, all right, we are being asked to consider the creation of a junior high soccer team. And because the team that's eliminating is co-ed, the co-ed does not apply at this level. And so we would have to, in order to have equal opportunities, approve both a boys and girls team. So these motions first eliminate the middle school co-ed team because there really is no choice. That was something that happened outside of our district. And then in order, if there is a desire to create a semi-equivalent opportunity for the male and female students who participated, then we would have to create these two new teams.
Thank you. So you're looking for, is this a voting item tonight that the board wishes to move forward with continuing to have soccer at the middle school and therefore needs to move forward? Not this season. This season will continue as co-ed, but next season we need to take steps to plan for next season.
Yeah, that is correct. It's a voting item, but as I think I mentioned, certainly it could be a discussion item if it needs to be tabled. I mean, we want to do what the board is. Whatever the board wishes, obviously. So if there's a desire to move ahead in this vein by voting on it tonight, that gives our athletic department opportunity to just move forward and get moving. If there is a desire to come back and further discuss this item, but I think, by the end of February, we should probably have a determination as to the direction we're going, and whatever direction that happens to be is certainly the purview of the board.
Dr. Mann, can you just clarify for us? So the co-ed middle school soccer was in the spring, so that's coming up in the spring. Now, a boys and girls soccer for middle school, will that be then in the fall, which is a traditional?
Yes, I believe it to be in the fall, which will be the following year. So if the board were to approve this, then our athletic department would be getting to work on all of the arrangements necessary to make that happen for the fall of 2025.
Gotcha. Can you clarify? So who asked for the creation of the new teams? Was it our athletic department, or did it come from the community soccer, who was, I think, pretty instrumental in bringing to our attention the opportunity for co-ed soccer?
I don't know the precise answer to that, Dr. Wayock. I believe there was a push among participants who desired to have the opportunity to play interscholastically under a PIAA team. participate, but certainly you are correct that there are community opportunities as well for soccer.
I mean, look, I'm all for more opportunities for the kids. So I'm very supportive of this if the community wants this. And I guess my question to anyone else, and I don't know the answer to this, although my daughter does play, for the community soccer. Is that what the community wants? Do you know, Melissa? I think
This-
you're on the board for soccer, right?
And Dr. Mahan mentioned it. This came forth from the Colonial League.
Yeah.
This
And that's,
is a
I guess,
col-
the
this is a
question I have is
Colonial
really,
League decision.
Is this what the community want? Like, does community soccer want, to move it now from the community, which offers, I think, some flexibility to the school district, which may be a little less flexible. No, please don't take any offense to this, but I know, for instance, I was involved very much in lacrosse, and we really like to keep it in the community for 7th and 8th grade because it actually offers a lot more flexibility, and there's very few schools that really offer it at that level. And I guess my question for the community, and I wish we had some people to speak to us today, is this what the community soccer wants to now essentially move 7th and 8th grade, which is currently run at the youth level from the community, a very well run organization, to now the school district, which I'm sure will do a great job, but will it offer the same opportunities for our kids, I guess, is my question.
Well, let's
No,
not just
it's
too quick.
I can't speak on behalf of
Right.
community soccer. From my understanding and how Dr. Mann explained it, this is a Colonial League decision. So co-ed soccer right now at the middle school is the Colonial League's version of offering soccer, and they're doing away with that version.
Well, one's
And
in
it'll go-
spring
So-
and one's in fall as well, right?
Yeah. So
It,
And-
it'll,
and
so
that
it
makes a
is a
difference.
district. It's a Colonial League.
Yeah,
the
no,
youth,
I
the
do
youth
Hold on,
soccer,
we're-
from my
we're good.
understanding,
Yeah.
will
Let her-
still
Yeah, we're
will
good.
still exist like it does
Okay.
now. Co-ed soccer at the middle school is in the spring, which is being done away after this season, in tandem with our youth program that is separate from district functionality.
So just to clarify, Dr. Mann, this item, you don't know how, I was under the understanding that the athletic department and athletic director brought this change to your attention, but okay, so you were saying that you weren't sure, are you now, has the athletic director approached you about this, or has this been a community item that has been approached you
Well,
about this?
we've been in contact with the athletic director and the high school administration for quite some time on this. And so they have definitely brought this to, I mean, it was something that was generated from the athletic department in the high school. Mr. Miller can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but right, if you come up again, for sure. But right, yes. But I think this is our administrator's
much, I
response
swear.
to the Colonial League.
Um,
Mr. Miller.
No, I'm good. I'm not sitting all the way up here. So long story short, the Colonial League, based on the number of schools and what they have in terms of availability, have eliminated JV soccer moving forward and moved to a junior high and varsity only model. So because of that move to a junior high and varsity only level, if we were to follow them in suit, and with the disbandment of middle school co-ed soccer, if we would follow that, we would in essence be losing opportunities for high school students on the soccer team to participate, because there'd only be a varsity and there'd be a junior high. Junior high by PIAA standards is only 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, meaning that more students could be cut from the program and not have the opportunity to participate. We realize with our size and with our hand scheduling, by Mr. Spangler does, and his connections with the Lehigh Valley, that we could still maintain, based on our numbers, a varsity squad, a JV squad, which we would play other opponents from either the EPC or the surrounding area, and still make a full junior high team that would have a Colonial League schedule against Northwestern, Bangor, Catasauqua, Northern Lehigh. We brought this forward to Dr. Mann, Dr. Trinkle. We expressed our concern because we didn't want to see us take an opportunity away from our students because of a decision made by our league affiliates, which is why we went to this discussion and brought it forth to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
That's really clear. We appreciate that. All right. So this is a decision
real
that was
quick,
brought
real
through
quick.
the athletic department.
We are keeping a JV as well.
So that's our
though-
goal.
Even though Colonial League is getting rid of it,
Right.
we are our
So
goal
there's
is to
only going to
keep-
be 3 teams in the Colonial League keeping a JV team because their numbers are that high. But because we're underneath 6 teams, the Colonial League will not give us a Colonial League schedule at JV. We'd have to hand schedule with Parkland, Emmaus, Whitehall, and other surrounding areas, Tamaqua, so forth, those kids will still get opportunities and would give a lot more kids opportunity to play soccer in our area.
So in terms of our JV, sorry, you know.
And currently, sometimes our JV soccer teams do play school districts from the EPC. Currently.
This
It's-
past year, a lot
yes.
of times we had to
Yes.
because we had more numbers than other Colonial League opponents.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for expanding on my explanation earlier.
And
Mine too.
And this isn't foreign by any means from like an athletic standpoint in terms of, you mentioned hand scheduling. I mean, we do it for baseball, for instance, because you don't have numbers in all of the different school districts to have JV. So instead of taking away opportunities and not having a JV program, we actually, through Mr. Spangler and I'm sure Mr. Miller, they looked for scheduling outside, scheduling against Quakertown, scheduling against other school districts, and just trying to find that opportunity to keep teams together and teams play, where other school districts are saying we're folding. So
what I'm hearing is this is an item that was brought by the athletic department and the high school from a ninth grade perspective and the middle school and by the Colonial League's decision. Given the Colonial League's decision, you are approaching us to approve this upon your recommendation because of the Colonial League's
Correct. We
decision.
don't want to see kids lose opportunities.
Bingo. And also, as far as this has in no way impacts, just for the folks listening at home and in the audience, this in no way impacts the intramural program that's completely separate from this high school sports program. And so this will not impact in any way any opportunities there. It only increases. All right. So does anyone need any more questions in order for us to? Yes, Ms. Cruz. Hold on one second while we mic you up. Dr. Mahan is operating his gooseneck right now. Go ahead, speak. Thanks.
Thank you. I didn't hear us discuss cost implications to this motion. Do we have some cost estimates of what this is going to take for us to lift? I know previously it was a club sport, so it wasn't something that was necessarily on our direct agenda.
well, we made a motion to pay this money for the co-ed. So my understanding and my mathematics to this would be is that JV stays, varsity stays, no change. Co-ed, which is one program, would be divided into two at the junior high level. So our implications from a cost perspective without numbers to me would be an additional head coach position and potentially potentially an assistant coaching position under stipend. And then obviously your uniforms, which there's a unique way to repurpose what we have, because my understanding is I think we paid for some new ones recently. So
there's a way for us to repurpose the uniforms appropriately without adding that as a part to the budget. And in terms of transportation, we could easily work it through where right now JV and varsity travel together, or this case, it would be junior high and varsity traveling together as well. So we've already had this built into our budget as well for transportation.
So I have $14,000 as an estimate for the cost of this. The combination of all three: elimination of the one team, which is a savings, and then the added cost of adding two is $14,000.
Is this something where the board is questioning this with the budget like before, or I guess?
It would be, so I'm hearing it would be an additional $14,000 added approximately, right? Added to next year's budget over what our budget currently is for soccer and sports. Is that correct,
And-
Mr. Pepe?
Yeah, and I can tell you that he currently has that in his budget allocation, as if the board is going to approve it. I told him it's a lot easier to take it out if you don't than to try and find it afterwards.
All right. So whatever budget presentation we eventually get to, this has already been already admitted. Okay. Ms. Cruz, does that answer your question? And don't talk until we press this. But Ms. Cruz, does that address your question or any other questions you might have?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Ms. Gaiman.
You're welcome. All right. So hearing that information, are you looking for a vote to move forward, Dr. Mann? What do you need from us? From tonight, what do you need?
If the board is supportive of the idea, a vote to approve would allow our athletic department to begin its preparations.
Considering the situations that we're in undue to us, and this is coming from the Colonial League, I don't see why we need to delay this any further. I'm ready to vote for giving the opportunities for our folks.
I second your motion.
I completely agree with this suggestion. This is driven by the Colonial League, not by Southern Lehigh School District.
All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this point to move forward, to consider it and include it as it is in the budget for next year? Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Miller. Who knows? You might make another trip up here. We'll see. Stay tuned. Getting your steps in. All right, moving on to, we don't have anything under special ed and student services for this evening. Under technology, we have items 7A and B. Both are for Berks County Intermediate Unit Technical and Professional Services in coordination with and due to helping us out with our Infinite Campus migration. Could I have a motion to approve items 7A and B?
Motion.
Second.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I'm going to say Turba and Mond had the motion in the second. Ms. Lobley can. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Carney. I have no idea. Pick two board members, Ms. Lobley. I heard Ms. Turba, and did I hear you, Mr. Wayak, Dr. Wayak? Okay. So the motion in second. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this? The only question I had was, I see that this is, I believe this is a retroactive payment. Do I understand that? I'm a dates person today. So is this a December? We've already kind of paid and engaged in these services because they were necessary in order to continue to address our issues with Infinite Campus. Is that correct, Dr.
These
Mann?
were time-sensitive issues, so we engaged the contractors to move forward with the work.
Okay, so this is a retroactive vote and a retroactive estimate. And I asked you, you provided some great information earlier, which was so far, including this, we've spent or anticipate spending how much on?
I think we said Mr. Pepe looked at this morning, and our estimate is that we've spent $4,000 with the Berks IU to assist us and partner with us to address migration issues with Infinite Campus.
Okay, thanks. And that's inclusive of these at this point in time. All right, thank you for answering that. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to, scrolling, business and finance. I have a bills list, a treasurer's report, budget items. Actually, this gets into Mr. Pepe's, you know what? So we don't confuse items with Mr. Pepe's presentation. I'm going to take these separately. Could I have a motion to approve item 8A, the bills list?
So moved.
Dr. Webb,
Second.
thank you. Mr. Mon, thank you for the second. Any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, actually, I just want to bring something up for full transparency. There wasn't an item on the agenda that was on Friday, and it has been pulled. So for those who have looked at the board bills list, there has been an item that has been removed that will not be paid by the Southern Lehigh School District. This service was not approved by this board.
Okay, so to clarify, there was an item listed that was removed from the bills list today, I believe. I'm now understanding a few hours ago. And the bill was removed from the list because contracting with that vendor was not approved by this board and services were not rendered for this board, correct? All
That's
right.
correct. I just want to make sure that everybody is fully aware that there's a difference from what was publicly posted on Friday.
And that change just occurred a few hours ago. All right. Any other items of discussion on this bills list? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to, and Mr. Pepe cut me off, I believe we'll take items, the treasurer report next, and then we have a break. Is that correct? Or do you want to take this all together? What do you want to do? And then we can take the rest together. All right, that's good. That's kind of where I cut that there. Go ahead, Mr. Pepe, the floor is yours. Thank you for this presentation. Included in this, I know we are addressing the CLIU budget as well as the L-Tri-C budget, and we have L-Tri-C representative in the audience if we have any questions about the L-Tri-C budget. Thank you, Mr. Pepe.
Okay, thank you. Test. Okay, so basically this is kind of gotten to be an annual presentation. This is actually the fourth budget I'm working on here. And it's just to give you an idea of where we are in the process and kind of what things we're looking at and where things are going. So the first thing I can say is we're investing in our future now. And that's kind of the theme of budget development for this year. So what does that mean? Well, we have a focus on educational program and instruction, which is really a good place to be because we've addressed a lot of facility emergent needs over the last couple of years. We still have some rather large projects, but you're now in a position where we can start looking deeper at educational program and instruction. So how are we doing that? We're doing that through ongoing discussions, which the superintendent had already talked about tonight, and they involve information technology, they involve curriculum, and you'll see over here on the side curriculum review, textbook adoptions, program improvements. These are some of the drivers on the expenditure side that end up going into the budget for consideration in the overall. And we're not quite there because we still have to get to revenues and start putting everything together and look at how things lay out. That's probably we're a month away from that. Staffing is another item where Dr. Mann had brought up, and that obviously has a major impact on budget as we go forward, because we don't just look at salaries, but salaries, benefits, pension, full impact. So while developing a budget that balances needs with fiscal responsibility, so we still maintain, and that's achieved by controlling expenditures, adding to our fund balances, and maintaining tax millage stability. Now, that is something that thematically has happened over the last couple of years, and that's positioned us at this point to look at the other items we're looking at. So we've improved our financial position, for instance, and this is a really exciting slide for me because it's graphs and data, but I'm going to break it down for you. What we're looking at is the gold line that's going across, and this is a 14-month analysis that I looked at. That's the Fed rate. And we all know we all know interest rates have been higher. So the Fed rate was running around 5.3 during that period, and it just now came down to 4.83 as of October. I believe it's already coming down again. However, during that time frame, the yellow line, or the orange line, I should say, represents our interest rates over at Q and B. And when you look at the green and the gray, that's PSLAF, which is the Pennsylvania State Liquid Asset Fund, and the Governmental Interest Fund from Pennsylvania. And we actually outperform both. So the average APR during this time period was 5.23 that we experienced from QNB against the Fed rate of 5.28. So we were actually able to get a yield of $2.4 million in interest that we earned during that period. And that's why we had such a good closeout when the auditor spoke last month. And I don't expect interest rates to stay there, I can tell you right now. But through our cash management, we're constantly looking at other strategies to do whatever we can to try and make as much as possible. So we've also identified cost impacts for the 25-26 budget, and they start with cost drivers in the budget cycle. And these are pretty much in every budget cycle, but I tried to put some numbers to it. So health benefit increase, for instance, is 9.75% this year from the Health Benefit Consortium. What does that mean to us? That's an additional load of $734,000 in our total premium increase, accompanied by dental rate increase of 16% or $34,000. Annual RX cost impact has gone up. Last year, I had talked about somewhere between 7 to 15%, and that they were going higher as predicted. This year, our rate from the consortium was 16.4%. Pension payments still around 34.7%, hasn't changed that much. The auditor talked about the unfunded liability. They're still on the balance sheet, but that's throughout the entire state. And it's not just Pennsylvania. Pretty much any state with the pension has that issue. And then salary increases that average 3.68 over the next years, over the next 2 years as part of the SLEA agreement. So that's got to be factored in as we move forward on expenditure side. So the Act 1 index, I tried to make this a little easier to go through this year because everybody's been on the board now So we had to pass a resolution to stay at or below the index of 4.0. We accomplished that. We did that in November of 2024. And what that means is now we're on target for a proposed final budget in May. And that's the proposed final budget. And then the final budget in June. And that's the same timeline that we were on last year. And that's on the calendar that I sent out to everybody. So we're really good on time. To get there, we start by reviewing the appropriations. And our charge is to stay within the Act 1 index while continuing to deliver quality educational programming. And we do that by making informed budget decisions. The collaboration here has actually been taking place since the beginning of the year started. And you see the people around the round table actually have a rectangular table, because round tables are a little difficult, but what we're looking at is needs-based targeted spending in there to make sure that whatever's asked for is needed, and our principals do a fantastic job of that. A lot of times I sit there and challenge them to make sure they actually have budgeted enough based on the actuals in prior years. And because you don't want to budget in a vacuum and have a forecast that is not realistic. Reality-based budgeting works the best. And like I said, they've done a great job with that. Goal alignment, making sure that what's in there is in line with all the areas like curriculum, the superintendent, personnel, making sure that they've reached out to Ethan, and that it's site-based, based on the actual needs, also that it's zero-based to ensure a justification of the expenditures. So the budget timeline is already up here. It's on the website. Anybody in the community can follow. You just go right on here to the link under the business office tab, and it'll bring you right to that. And the presentation will be up on the website. And just as in the past, every year when we do our presentations, we continue to put them on. So now I'm going to get to the really interesting part. And I know we have Ken Moore here tonight, and appreciate that. But our partners, we look at LTRI-C, LCTI, and the IU. So tonight I'm going to focus on the Lehigh Carbon Community College and the IU 21. LCTI, their budget development is a little longer. We'll get that and have that on next month's update. So I can start off by saying the big information for us is really no change. And I say no change because when they put their budgets together, the appropriation line from the sponsors has remained the same in both LTRI-C as well as IU-21. Our impact on LTRI-C is $285,000. That's what's the load in our budget, and that's pretty much in line with where it's been. It's about a 1.7% increase for their budget, and I'll tell you what it ends up being for actual cost on ours. The IU, that is going actually down for our share by $2,559, or negative 3.7%. So again, I'm just going to walk you through a little quick on these because it's really not that much going on. The expenditure is up there. Their total increases 1.2 million, which is pretty close to what they were in the past. Salary and wages driving most of it. It accounts for about 70.5% of their overall expenditures. That's down from 7.1% last year, and I think the year before was slightly higher. So their salary and benefit lines have actually come down over the last 3 years. The fringe benefits, their budget is in for an 11.3% increase on health benefits. And I had a tag on here, all districts in the Lehigh Valley. What's happened is that was the early look and the numbers that were presented. However, from November to December, that actually went down to 9.75, but their budget was already struck. So that's why our number is slightly lower. Utilization of 7.9 million in reserves to cover capital projects. They have a myriad of capital projects up there. I reviewed them all on the sheet that they provided in the budget. It was really good to see the way they break it down and lay it out. But I found it interesting that they have HVAC and controls, which a lot of people have been doing. The art classroom renovations, planned maintenance, parking lots, roadway refurbishing, and more. Common fare when you're looking at a site as big as they have with the buildings and facilities they have. The sponsor appropriation, as I said, is in at 9.8%. And that was compared with the last 3 years. It's been averaging about 10%. So it really hasn't changed. And this year, there's really not much there. Southern Lehigh, I pulled out, and I know you can't see that, but I'll tell you, when we look at the three components, we look at the operating budget, and the operating budget is up 2%. So the increase is $3,088. That's our change. And that change is driven by their formulation. They look at the wealth of the communities. They look at the actual utilization. So our FTE, or full-time equivalents, has actually gone up. So we have more students taking advantage of the services up at L-Tri-C. Therefore, we expect in the distribution, we're going to go up, not down. The next is the debt service to cover all their projects. These have all been projects that were previously approved, and we continue to help offset or carry that amount, and that is up 1.4%. So when we combined the total, that represents an increase of $4,856, or up 1.7%. So as I said, I'm really not concerned about anything I'm seeing in their budget. The IU budget, that one I'm going to go through pretty quick. That's actually going down for us. There's your fringe benefit number that I was talking about, 9.75. Salaries, 3.25 for teachers, 3.2 for Act 93 administrators. Their PSERS rate, same as ours, 34.7. And when you look at this line, we're going from 69,990 to 67,431, or down 2,559. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, trying to make up some time, Madam President.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Lou. Mr. Moore, we appreciate you coming out. I know that he'd reach out to Dr. Mann and I, and usually he's here to provide any questions if we have any questions for him, or to give us, you usually give us that update about more Southern Lehigh students are using the facilities, and that's good news for us. So if you have anything to add, or if come to the mic, any board members would like to specifically ask you. Sure.
Good evening. The L-Tri-C 25-26 budget, this is the 14th consecutive year that we've been holding our sponsoring school districts' total contribution as a part of the revenue. In the year 2000, when I was first appointed as your representative, the share from the school districts was 17% of our budget. Now, in the contract that sets up L-Tri-C and Southern Lehigh School District and other school districts, it's 1/3 is supposed to be state funded, 1/3 is supposed to be tuition funded, and 1/3 is supposed to be local sponsor funded. So when I started in 2000, we were at 17% for local sponsor funding. With this budget, as Lou had told you, in the 25-26 budget, the sponsor share is down to 9.8%, which is the lowest now in those 20 some years. The Southern Lehigh School District increased 4,856 here. That's just due to the formulation, again, as Lou had said, or it's up about 1.5%. The total enrollment, I just want to talk about dual enrollment for a minute, because I know that we've been working hard on that with the Southern Lehigh School District. The dual enrollment for 23-24, last fiscal year, L-Tri-C had total dual enrollment students of 2,362. Again, back when I first started in the year 2000, we had 20 students were involved in dual enrollment. So that's been a good thing. We've been working and continuing to try and drive that program. The total Southern Lehigh School District dual enrollment students are 90 as of last year. We have 270 courses available, 55 at high schools themselves, and 215 at L-Tri-C. That's basically it. If you have any questions, I'll be able to I'll try to answer. If I don't, I will get back to you with an appropriate answer.
I just want to thank you for your representation of the school district there, and just a general comment on healthcare costs. I just want to make everyone aware from both LTRC and the school district, the percentage have gone way up, and I'm kind of surprised that they're up that much, but it's something to be aware of, that the medical costs for healthcare continue to rise every year. And that was one of the biggest cost drivers, albeit the other one's going down in the LTRC budget. But I appreciate LTRC and our work together to continue expanding dual enrollment. We had a lot of discussions amongst people on the board and with you to promote that. So I just want to thank LTRC and your assistance and the representation there, because I think it's a trend that we have to keep moving on. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Moore, $30 a credit, I think it still is. And that course counts exactly the same as if you took it at Penn State main campus, right? So
It's a
great.
it's a lost leader, Mike.
And we hope you keep losing for Southern Lehigh students.
We're hoping that those students will then continue to come back to Southern Lehigh or to LTRC in order to get their associate's degree and then move on from there.
And then there's only one piece that I did report on that I think is interesting, and that's the FTEs, the full-time equivalents. It's a 5-year average. And when I look at the numbers, although we're up from 22 to 23, we went from 72 to 78.5. Then I went to 78.8. We're still adding in 111.6 from fall of 2020. They will fall off in the calculation next year. So if the numbers stay close to what they are, we're probably going to see the average go down, which means the billing portion for us would go down correspondingly. That's all.
Your revenue relative to our operating budget, as Lou pointed out, is based on a 5-year rolling enrollment from Southern Lehigh. And so what he's saying is it going to fall off. But I'd like to see us get back up to 111.
Yes, yes. No, that's a good explanation in general. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Ken Moore at this time? Thanks for coming out. Thanks for sitting through our long meetings. Thanks for your service.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all for your,
Sure.
which I assume is going to
There's
be a
one.
vote and support.
Great. All right. Mr. Pepe, anything else to add to any of these voting items at all? I see we have the elected tax collector compensation.
Yeah, what I can tell you is the tax collector information. The board approves that. It's like a 4-year approval. And what I did is I actually took and looked at collective information from all the other districts in the valley to see kind of where do we stack up, because looking at percentages in a vacuum is really not helpful. And I was able to determine that we were actually paying pretty well. We weren't the highest. We certainly weren't the lowest. But based on where we were, I did not feel it was necessary to continue to increase every single year. So I spoke with Dr. Mahan. We looked at the data, and we agreed to do the increase in the first year, 3.25, and then hold flat for the next 3 years. And there was an original request for 4% each year, but we did not feel that was necessary.
From the billing perspective of the tax collector. So thank you for negotiating that on behalf of the district. Any other questions for Mr. Pepe on that item before we move on? Again, we're not voting. And the last item is we have a donation. Actually, we have a motion to accept the donation of in this series, which if nobody objects, I'll take together. We have a motion to accept a donation of $3,695 from the Hopewell PTA for a storage shed at Hopewell. Any other commentary? It seems pretty straightforward, but we really appreciate the efforts of the PTA on able to include that on our agenda tonight.
Motion to approve the Hopewell PTA donation.
Would you mind making a motion to approve items 8B through E, which is the shed Hopewell donation?
Certainly.
Fine. Great, Mr. Carney. Thank you for that motion. Could I have a second? Those items, just so we're clear, those items are what Mr. Pepe just presented. So the treasurer's report, the budget update of the school district draft budget update. We are not voting on the school district budget tonight, but we are voting to approve the proposed general operating budget for Lehigh, Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, CLIU, and to approve the proposed operating capital budget that Mr. Pepe and Mr. Moore presented for the L-Tri-C Lehigh Carbon Community College, as well as the tax collector compensation that Mr. Pepe explained that he negotiated for us, and then the Hopewell Shed. So we have a motion to that effect from Mr. Carney. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Any further questions or comments? Other than to thank the Hopewell PTA immensely for that donation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the next section of our agenda, support services. We have high school renovations, the library project, the Southern Lehigh Middle School roof replacement. We have a motion to approve that change order. And again, we have a motion to approve the proposal. We accepted the money for the donation to purchase the shed. Now we're accepting the proposal to install the shed, all on the same agenda. Could I have a motion to approve items 9A through C?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mond. Mr. Boyer for the motion, Mr. Mond for the second. Questions or comments on these items? I know some folks, we had a previous update and discussion about the library renovation and the budgetary amount. Any questions from board members on any of these items at
I
this time?
wanna
We'll just
make a
take them in order.
Comment on the library that, we obviously have time, Mr. Pepe, to review costs there. This is a budget not to exceed, but we are going to be diligent in planning properly for the budget of that particular expansion, correct?
That's correct. What we've done is, outside of this agreement, this is for the architectural professional services, not to exceed. So it's billed at hourly rate, not to exceed. Hopefully it'll come in, under, but it won't exceed that. The other parts of it are based on their budget that they put together, the estimated budget. So at this point, I've already started with sending out multiple requests for proposal on the furniture as well as the flooring, so that we can look at comparative estimates, even though it's going to be on a competitive bid. Then the bigger areas will be the construction piece. And as we start to look at the overall numbers, then we can determine, are they within the budget? Are they under budget? Do we need to do this? If we need to reduce, the overall scope, what can we take out and still have an effective project, that kind of stuff. But those discussions would happen at the facilities committee to start, and then a report back to the board as we're moving forward, if that makes sense to the board.
And I think the one thing to keep in mind for the public is that the library space is being redefined so that we have some significant opportunity for flex space and other activities, and to make it much more dynamic and useful than the current mothball that we have today.
100%. And the value add, because, just like the presentation, we start with the impact on delivery of instruction and student use, but then we also look at multifaceted use so that we can have evening activities there, including moving the board meeting to the library. So it's a benefit to the public as well. So we're looking at all of that.
And this is just a little bit of elaboration for a community member that was bringing up the topic of library. So thanks.
And it provides us the opportunity to look at this space in conjunction with others to, once that'll be like our next discussion here at the board level.
Yeah, one step at a time, right?
Mr. Pepe, how big of a space is library space, square footage wise? Do you know offhand?
Not as far as square footage, I don't have it off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I don't remember
but
what
it's
that was
it's
either.
large. It's larger than this room. It's probably almost double the space, if not 3 times.
Good. Okay, good.
The other thing that really is important is we're not looking at the space in a vacuum of the high school either. We're trying to look at a synergy of that area so that we can introduce some of the other things that are happening in the building, and it's all tied in through there, kind of like a hub of IT, not just a traditional library with stacks. So, and I know the committee, Dr. Trinkle, she might want to speak about it because she's heading that part up.
Collaboration, right?
Yeah, yes, there will be books in the library. We actually, just to make that clear, there will be, but we need to reprioritize what books are available to our students. There are some that are outdated and have not been pulled or used in a large period of time. So we're in the process right now, and we took a lot of feedback from our students about what would be helpful for them as far as tangible resources at their fingertips, and we heard that loud and clear. So we are taking steps to actually inventory our library with the librarians today to get their feedback and to kind of bring them along through this process as well. So the space will be multifaceted in use. There will be areas for small groups, there will be large groups, there'll be maker spaces, those types of things, but there will be books and an opportunity for students to collaborate as well.
And the last item I have for you on this, we're talking about the Hopewell PTA donation for the storage shed. One of the people that's integral in looking at all of those type of activities is Michael Rohrback out here on facilities to go out and make sure that what they're looking for fits where it's going to be, whether or not they have the right foundation to support what needs to happen. But this is Michael's last meeting with us tonight. So I just wanted to call him out and thank him for his contributions as he's going to be moving on to another district.
Thank you. Timely tie-in. It's assuming we accept his resignation on the HR report, right? All right. So, yeah, right. So thank you. Just to clarify, and one of the questions I had in this series was about that high school renovation. Just to clarify, what we're voting on tonight for myself is that we are approving the Alley 5 architectural limits not to exceed $100,000. We are not approving the budget for the library or any of those particular elements. We are just contracting with architectural firm not to exceed that amount in the planning of this space. Is that correct, Mr. Pepe?
That is correct. And that also includes a breakout of the engineering component. So I think that was in total.
Okay. Yes. It breaks out. Sorry. It breaks out the architectural versus the engineering component. Thank you. But it's a not to exceed amount. Doesn't really commit us to anything. And Bill. Okay, great. Because you're right. And I look forward to hearing. I know some folks were saying that we haven't heard, an expanded programmatic plan for that high school yet. And I know that's coming. I'm glad to hear that because, like Dr. Trinkle joked, the library will have books, which I appreciate because I think one of the other considerations that we had talked about as a board is, will the library have a librarian? I know in the list of staffing items that Dr. Mann brought up at the last meeting, one of the items on there was high school media center and librarian, which was listed as optional. And so before, we embark on a $1 million potentially library project, which far exceeds, I think, anything we were kind of envisioning at the first. I really, as a board member, I'm glad to hear we're voting on it not to exceed in architectural and engineering planning. But like, I'm going to need to hear as a board member, and I know the community is going to want to hear as well. And we heard some of that tonight, like those programmatic elements. I think we had a student speak up to say, how are we going to incorporate this investment into programmatic educational curricular elements? Like, is a librarian optional? If we're building a library, if we're going to invest $1 million, then to me, a librarian is not optional. We need to, and things like just questions to ponder, like, will this incorporate staffed assistance with filling out, post-graduation forms? Are we bringing back the writing center that we used to kind of facilitate and work out of there? I know is another question I've heard, like the writing center filling out post-graduation application paperwork and essays. Is that something that's programmatically going to be incorporated again into the library? And you mentioned a makerspace, so that answers kind of that question. Just filling out, if we're going to make this kind of an investment like we did in the stadium, we know the programmatic benefits of that investment. But I'm really looking forward to hear, and I need to understand the programmatic investments, and just rest assured the community that is coming, and we're not committing to this, without truly understanding all those programmatic curricular moving parts. So thank you. I appreciate hearing a little bit about that. And I look forward to hearing more, including, scheduling and how will students access and how will it be staffed and some of the things brought up. We're not voting to approve the whole thing. We're just proceeding as we need to with a project to move forward with some aspect of having a functional library with scheduling. And
all other
I think some of
aspects.
those things we've absolutely been talking about in our biweekly meetings with Alloy 5. We've been updating the education committee on progress as well. So we can certainly provide a more comprehensive update here if that's what you're asking. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I from a budgetary standpoint, as we move forward, I know the committees are going to be reporting out. I'm just rest assured we just haven't heard it yet. It's not, the work's not being done.
We actually even talked about, just as we take steps in this progress or in this process, is kind of like what we did for the stadium, is those forward facing documents, not just for us, but for the community to see the progress.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week, and we're going to talk with Alloy 5. We meet on Wednesday this
and
week. As
and
well.
those programmatic elements of
Mhm.
what is this investment going to do to impact
All of-
curriculum and learning, and yep,
Yep,
exactly.
all of that would be embedded in that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Dr. Trinkle, I would hold off until you've got everything done, and don't let any of us push you to, preview things that aren't quite ready.
No, right. No, we don't need to until we're asked to spend the dollar. Plan all you want.
Right. So some of that is kind of, it is not like this pie in the sky, but until we really have, when the rubber meets the road, we can't really do much until that gets approved.
Yeah.
So
Right. No, thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments on any of these items? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving on to the Human Resources Report. I know we have a couple of individuals and items of note on there, and Western Governors University Clinical Experience Affiliation Agreement. Could I have a motion to approve both of these before we get into our Human Resources farewells and celebrations and such explanation?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. Second. I know we haven't had a human resources report in a very long time, maybe Thanksgiving. Dr. Little, would you care to give us some of the highlights of the people who, like Mr. Rohrbach, it's our last meeting with us tonight. Would you like to give us a highlight of some of the service?
I already gave his report.
Yeah,
thank
we.
you.
So skip Mr. Rohrbach is what I'm hearing.
I don't get a lot, and then he took it from me. So yes, Mr. Rohrbach will be ending his service with us this Friday. And the other two individuals that I wanted to point out are two folks who have been, I think, probably our witness to Southern Lehigh history. And that is one is our counselor, secretary to our counseling office, Melody Davis, who has been given 39 years of service. So it's an extraordinary amount of time. And Joanne Stevenson, who's a head custodian. Melody will be leaving us at the end of the school year, whereas Joanne Stevenson will be ending her service with us at the end of the month. No, Mike Rohrbach is not taking her with him. And she is the head custodian at the middle school, and she has given 29 years of service to this district. So they really are, it's rare that we get the chance to celebrate such long-lived experiences here. And I'm sure they'll be quite missed.
Yes, those are both very familiar faces. Right?
And the only other quick update is, and I'm going to call him out, is thanks to our principal, Brian Mansfield, we have started early on Liberty Trails. In fact, I know. So I'm going to start calling a principal out at every meeting just to see if they're awake. And one of them is we actually, and I say that because we just approved the other camp leader today. So you'll see her name on the next agenda. So we are doing well with hiring for that.
That's
and
great
it's
to
actually
hear.
earlier than we did last year. So
That's great to hear. Thank you. No, we wish those retirees and those departing to greener pastures in general well. Melody Davis and Joanne will be missed. And the roles they fill in this district are beyond what their job descriptions are. They are very much individuals who step in at every moment. And that's 30 and 40 years of service here at Southern Lehigh really speaks to the dedication our staff have. And they will be missed. Please say your goodbyes to them if you see them in the hallways and such. Any other questions or comments on any of these items?
We taking everything, A, B, and C?
Did I not say B? I got a motion for A and B. Maybe my page break prevented me from, I apologize. A, B, and C. I see A and B on here on mine. Am I on the wrong?
Probably 9:19 and my eyes aren't working.
Okay, good. So 10 A and B is what's the motion, and that stands. I didn't have a page break. Seeing no other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyer.
Just to make it for the point, my wife is on there. So
Yeah,
If
yeah.
anybody was wondering why,
And you'll fill out the appropriate paperwork at the end of the meeting. You can see Ms.
I'm
Lobley.
not getting any money out of my position unless Coach Greenwald has a change in that.
So, Mr. Mr. Boyer is abstaining. Mr. Boyer is abstaining because his wife is on this agenda, and he'll fill out the appropriate paperwork with Ms. Lobley and file that. So thank you very much. All right, moving on to committee reports. I will make it easy for policy. We are meeting tomorrow, and so I will have a report at the next meeting along with hopefully some policies to bring to the board. That is my update for policy. And the IU meeting actually as an IU representative is on Wednesday. So I have a busy board week, but those are my 2 updates. Anyone else have an update?
I can quickly go. Tech committee met today at 4:00. Right, fast, right. Oh my gosh, and I can still remember. We did discuss the current state of student devices for grades 7 through 12, and we plan to bring more and detailed information to the next board meeting regarding that. We also began a discussion of staffing needs within the tech department to broaden the support of our students and our staff. Conversations in progress, and we'll be sharing more at the next board meeting as well. And additionally, we began discussions for preparation for the 2025-26 budget and projects to ensure that we're well equipped for our future needs.
Facilities, February 4th.
Taking my same lead. And plus, we voted on a lot of your items that the facilities committee has been working on tonight. Thanks to you for that.
I just have a
We're
quick
clear
question.
on the agenda for facilities.
I just have a quick question for facilities, and this may be more for Dr. Mahan. Does the public have access to the track?
That was an issue we discussed in policy. At this point, it has very limited access to the track.
So, I would hope that this board would support public access for something that the public paid for. We talked about while we were building the track and the field, that public would have access. So can you I'm trying to understand why there's limited access to the public.
I'm chuckling because I've asked this multiple times too, that I'm on board with public access.
Well, so, and I know
our track, to
what's the holdup?
discus, to shot put, to the field, to all that. I think it's imperative that we have public access to something that was $7 million. So I don't know where we are either, but hopefully that happens at some point.
All right.
So hold on, I didn't really get an answer. So what is the holdup? Like, is it not supported by the current board? Is it not supported by the facilities committee?
I support it. I'm on the facilities committee, but
it's
been discussed, I think, in the past. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It was only discussed. We didn't really push anything because there was a lot of things that were discussed in terms of how would you protect against the investment that the school district made in terms of when's it going to be open, how is access going to be granted, how is anything going to be done in terms of control, from a liability standpoint and from a vandalism standpoint. So there was a lot of things that were discussed in one of the facilities meetings.
Yeah, we did have that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to Mr. Boyer's point, the question does come down to, certainly no one is opposed to, the thought of people, no one wants to deny anyone opportunities, but to the extent that opportunities are greater created, that does create, more of a concern of control, potential vandalism, although there are trade-offs. And I think those were some of the issues.
Potential vandalism for anything on our properties, as well as tennis court nets, other items, same thing.
It might behoove the facilities committee and the board to look at how other districts handle this in terms of policy and security and safety, because I'm sure there's some best practices out there we can replicate without reinventing the wheel.
Yep, I requested that in one of the facilities meetings, so we'll do that, I believe. And
we can do that again. We did that already before,
Yeah.
and there's a lot
Right.
of districts that actually don't allow access.
Yeah.
We already did have that conversation, but we can certainly take that recommendation to go back and look a little bit more on what else is available around in the area for sure.
Yeah.
And I
Well, maybe
attended
look
that-
at some of the universities.
I attended that facilities committee meeting and Mr. Spangler was there. So I don't want to kind of go ahead tonight. We can put it on a future agenda. The facilities committee can revisit it. I know at the time I do recall, Mr. Boyer, that Mr. Spangler said that no other school districts that he was aware of in this area provide that kind of access.
Well,
However, we do have Mary Joy, Ms. Reinhardt's. You're right that we do have university facilities. For instance, anyone who's looking for access to a track, the Lehigh University does have theirs open to the public, and that was one of the
Well, no, my
items that was
point is if
mentioned.
the university can figure out how to provide access, I think school districts can too.
A case in point, I'll be very frank here. My son was on track and field. He was a discus thrower. He had coaching. He was not able to have coach training on our facilities because it's locked up. So guess where we went? East Penn or Nazareth to have training for my son for discus. Now, this is a couple of years ago, but I would assume that we'd be able to come up with some solutions. And you know what? Sometimes you try things, and if they don't work, then you have to stop, fix it, and change it. But to be afraid of our shadows on access to a community asset, I think, is restrictive. And I think we can maybe come up with a way to try it and have some guardrails in place and then take it from there. If we don't have luck with that, we have irresponsible community members, then maybe we have to change our tactics. But I just say that now. I've kept very quiet about this over time, but since the subject came up, that's my feeling on it.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to make a point too is that I don't know if everybody really understands that in the Lehigh Valley, Southern Lehigh has the most amount of sports in the district, and we just approved 2 additional ones. So in terms of that, that's the other variable that needs to get looked at in terms of scheduling and stuff, because it's not conducive to have public when the first priority is for our athletic committee community to be using the facility. So that's just another variable that we got to go through. To your point, there's a lot of things that need to get looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about signage. When I was on the facilities committee, I thought we actually had purchased signage that essentially says the same, that it cannot be used during school hours. It cannot be used, when school teams. I mean, that's all. I mean,
And the
everyone
other
knows
fact-
that's pretty standard.
And to your point, the other fact is that Upper Saucon Police Department does rounds on a regular basis with many assets of this school district and DeSales. I'm sure that there would be no problem when or if requested to the police department that they would make rounds at that facility and do some quick checks. And then it gets shut down or closed off at dusk or whatever, and come up with a solution instead of roadblocks.
So,
I think
Mr. Mon,
the
you're
majority
on.
of our taxpayers don't have students in the district, and our taxes paid for that. So I think the community usage should be a priority.
So as Mr. Boyer said, that's something the facilities committee can look at again, as it did in the past.
And I think we're going to continue to, but case in point.
And I mean, for those who've been at the facilities committee, we're also talking about the middle school basketball courts and tennis courts. So like, that's also something that would be in play too, potentially, on what we would do with that area in the future because of how run down it is. Who knows? Maybe that's an alternative turf facility that people could use, and more use for the community, more use for our athletic sports. So, and more use for Mr. Wes's gym classes. But I want to be point that we're just still talking about that facility. But like, when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, I think it's important to think, like, instead of just looking short-sighted at one thing, look at what the whole bigger picture looks like to potentially what we would have allowable or available to the folks, is the point that I'm making.
I mean, currently, I think people can walk our grounds, after school hours. They can use the tennis courts. So there's nothing short-sighted about this, Eric.
I'm just
the community
speaking in terms of
has
not directing
access
it at
to
anybody.
to the property that the community pays for.
So
to restrict it is, in my opinion, wrong.
There's more discussion to be had. I don't think we're cutting off
No, that's
conversation.
fine.
It's
I
been a
just,
long meeting, and
wanna
we're
make it-
definitely going to revisit this in some capacity. But we're going to move on at this point and revisit. Mr. Carney, did you have
Yep,
an education committee update?
Yep, education is meeting Monday at 4:30. There's a couple of just like a comprehensive plan, library renovation. We're going to talk about those programmatic kind of besides facilities, full day K update, science standards, and some other things. And then LCTI. LCTI attended Skills USA. Mike also is in attendance. Next year will be the 40th year. It's held at Ag Hall. There were 62 different competition areas that students could participate in or compete in. And congratulations goes out to first place winner, Sheila Beard. There's another name in there that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. For crime scene investigation, there was a nice picture in the paper the following day. Priority applications are open. It ends March 1st. So far, they have 720 people interested. And they started doing 5th grade tours a couple years ago to get kids interested maybe in attending LCTI. And this is the first group that has a chance to apply. So they're thinking that this high number might be reflective of getting that hook early in 5th grade. Most interested are dental and cosmetology. Right now we have 142 students attending LCTI. They put out a stat sheet that I thought was pretty neat. Students earned over 2,700 industry level credentials and certificates, 750 college credits, and earned over $1 million in cooperative programs. Combined, all the students going out and earning money while they're at LCTI. There will be a public auction July 17th. As far as the budget goes, we talked about that and it'll be presented, so I'll hold off on that. But they very thorough detail as far as what they're spending and any kind of reasons for increases. I think there's a slight increase that is coming, but there's some pretty good reasons for it. The reason it was held up a little bit is because superintendents were very involved this time in looking at the LCTI budget, and they did unanimously recommend the budget. It's from my understanding. So thank you.
I just say on the subject of superintendents, the superintendent of record for LCTI is now, I would say, heavily involved in comparison to before. Sometimes that position was not sometimes in history, it was more of a figurehead position, but there's a stipend now for that. Is it Northwestern Lehigh or Northern Lehigh? Northern Lehigh, Dr. Link, yes. And he now is attending every meeting and working very closely with administration as well as the superintendent's group. So these will bring some positive changes to budget management and construction as well as some other facets.
All right, I believe that concludes committee reports and any new business or other business. I believe that covers it too with Mr.
I
Carney's.
have other business.
Yes. I
have other business I'd like to bring up.
Sure, go ahead.
And I
Ms.
don't want to
Reinhardt.
get into a discussion. It's 9:35.
I'm
But
sorry, I missed that. You don't want to get into a discussion, but
I
you
don't want this to get into a discussion. It's 9:35, but I would like to hear perhaps at the next board meeting from the administration as to what's being done about the high school parking debacle. Since I've been on this board, it's come up on social media repetitively year over year. I'm hearing all kinds of crazy stories, and I know there's some strategies at work. And I think it would be helpful for the community to hear from the administration and for the board to hear from the administration as to some of the strategies you're going to be employing going forward, so that we are all resting a little bit more easily. I don't want to get into a discussion now.
I think since we have a facilities committee coming up, I think that would fall underneath ours. We could possibly add that to conversation. What do you think, Dr. Mann and
Yes, and we could
Mr.
probably
Pepe?
inform that we have a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
on that. Yes.
I'm speaking into the microphone.
In response to Mr. Boyer, we very happily try to support the facility committee. We may have some ideas to bring to that discussion.
Thank you. Anything else under new or other business? Mr. Carney, do you have a report? Otherwise, I thought you included it in your LCTI there. All right.
The only thing I would add is that I did hear one new a district where they added a coffee machine in their library and then they sold coffee and they made some money on it. So I'm just throwing that out there.
We used to have a high school coffee shop in the cafeteria and a musical jam session, but neither here nor there. So not a unique idea. All right. At this point,
Ms.
thank you all
Gaiman.
for hanging with us.
Ms.
We do
Gaiman.
have, yes.
Ms. Gaiman, I do have to recognize our 5th and 6th grade band performed at the Phantoms game on Friday night. There were over 100 students, over 100, and it was led by the talented and dedicated Ms. Marston. The performance was a testament to her passion and putting students first. And I do just want to recognize that she had chaperones, parent volunteers. If you can imagine corralling over 100 students in the PPL Center, and it was done smoothly and with class, and Southern Lehigh was well represented. So, Mr. McGinty, if you can please pass that on to Ms. Marston. Kids did a great job. That's a hard job. 100 kids in
Yes.
the PPL Center.
Yes. No,
where
thank you.
there's alcohol flowing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Torba, for that. Any other news for the good of the order? Wonderful. So at this time, we do have, there's an information only item on this agenda. Are you okay? For graduate study field trips and conference requests, feel free to look at that information. And we do have folks signed in for visitor comment at the end of this meeting. I'm pulling that up now. The first individual I have is Michelle Stanton, who wished to speak at the end. Is she still here? Perhaps not. I don't necessarily see. All right. We wore out, says Mr. Pepe. And the next individual I have to speak is John, and I'm sorry, John Talaki. Thank you. Yes, the floor is yours. And I know there were, while John's making his way to the mic, I know there were individuals who perhaps wanted to sign in to speak. If after the visitor comment, if I failed to call your name, please just raise your hand and we'll get you to sign in.
First, I want to say I'm grateful for your service to the board. Grateful for the teachers, administrators. I had 2 children go through the district, so thank you so much for your service. I ran the pool from 2011 through 2018. Basically, like any nonprofit, they nominate your president without telling you, and then they all get off the board, so you're left holding the bag. Concerning your point about the lease, I have those documents, and I hopefully can help with the cleaning up the documents, because you're right, the pool lease isn't really defined. It just says 7 acres. So we need to clean that up. I think within the boards, within the pool board, to hire or engage the YMCA to manage the pool, that's within the lease. So I don't see there's any concern. The lease only talks about the sale, conveyance, or assigning of the real estate under the lease, which isn't defined in the lease. So I think if they do a building within a couple of years, I think they would need to come back to the board and get your consent for that purpose. And like I said, I'll work with the pool board. I rejoined the pool board. So I'll work with you to get the documents that you need and hopefully clean up the mess with the lease. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that concludes visitor comment, unless there's someone who had signed in to speak that, nope, I'm seeing no hands. Okay, in that case, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Safe travels. Thank you all for attending this evening. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Candy.
Thank you, Candy.